There we go, boys.
What's happening? Back again.
Welcome back, sir. Cheers. I don't cheers water, but you have spices in that water.
I got tea here.
You got herbs in that water, so I'll cheers it.
Sure.
So what's up, bud? What you been up to?
Trying to find work. Trying to come living off of just whatever money I can make right now doing music.
You got an interesting shirt on. Love to bang. What does that mean?
My girlfriend bought.
You got a girlfriend?
Yeah. Surprisingly, huh? No, she's commented on some of this.
What's that like? What's having a girlfriend in today's day and age like? I've been married for so long, I don't even know anymore.
Well, it's like being married, right?
Is it?
Yeah.
I don't know. You have to be like chill and.
I'm pretty chill, I think.
You have to like deal with like dudes sliding in her DMs.
Oh, I don't. I'm sure that happens. Men are disgusting pigs. So.
I don't think if, because me and my wife are not getting divorced, but like if she died or something, I don't think I would even be able to date in the modern era. Because I don't think I can deal with dudes sliding into the DMs.
I just always assume that happens. So I'm not the jealous type.
I think I would have two requirements if I was going to date somebody. They can't have social media, right? And women should also say this should also be true for dudes. Unless he's like in a band and literally has to have social media or a comedian or something. And then hopefully somebody else manages it for them, especially if they have success. But the other one is no medications. If I find out she's got anxiety meds and...
Gee, that's almost everybody these days.
Yep, that's why I said I don't think I'd be able to date, dude, because it's we're in a weird place, man. How long have you guys been together?
What, 6, 7 years now?
Yeah, okay, so it is. You're basically married. Yeah. When you're together that long, I feel like the actual ceremony is meaningless. It's a piece of paper for tax benefits, you know.
Tax benefits.
Yeah, like taxes are a little better if you're married. Allegedly. I don't know if this is actually true. This is just what I heard.
Yeah. I wouldn't know.
All I know is that buying a house and owning a home with somebody... Peanut, you need to knock this shit.
Oh. What's going on over there?
She's getting old.
Oh, you have to flip her.
I don't know what her deal is. She just complains a lot now. So I don't know, if her hip is sore, if she's... Oh, it's always something with this dog. And I only... Like, I tend to her, like, crazy. You know, anything she needs, I'm on it. It's just, during the podcast, it's like, you got to just give me a couple hours. It's so distracting. No, me and my wife have always joked about, before we got married, we bought a house. It happened in the same 365-day cycle, but that was a way bigger commitment than standing in front of some dude and being like, till death do us part, and signing that. Like, it's way easy to get divorced if you just own an apartment. It doesn't... It's emotionally scarring, sure, but when you own a home together, that's a way bigger mess to untangle. So I feel like that's almost a deeper commitment than just standing in front of a judge. I don't know. That's just my silly opinion.
I don't know. It's so weird with people.
That's just my opinion. But
people these days, relationships are scary. So I don't know.
Especially nowadays.
Yeah,
Seems like everybody's insane. Seriously, it seems like everybody's fucking crazy now.
Yeah, I'm not the relationship expert, so yeah, I won't make any comments on any of that stuff.
Even just having fucking friends, even just online interactions, people are fucking nuts.
No, for sure, yeah.
What do you think's genuinely contributing to everybody's insanity?
I think the breakdown of the family is a big part of it. The breakdown of traditional values, all the stuff that maybe the conservatives are right about. And I think the farther we get away from having based. Now, I think that we're getting away from all these other things that had true values and lessons, and now we're just everything's immediate gratification. Feelings are more important than being able to deal with your issues, and we're just reinforcing all the wrong things, I believe.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of we've nerfed society and made everything so easy and comfortable, and that has meant that people have zero real problems anymore. But I think what drives most people is they have to feel like they have a purpose.
I do believe people need a purpose, yes.
And sometimes your purpose is just simply survival. But when all your basic needs are met and you're still unhappy,
mm-hmm.
I think that's what creates anxiety. Because and depression, because I have a hard time being depressed anymore. Like I was 10, 15 years ago. I got too much shit going on. I got too many actual problems to solve. And then fixing those problems makes me feel good and productive. And like I have something, you know what I mean?
Yep.
So it's almost like a negative feedback loop, like creating everything because nobody struggles. Our poor people are fat now. Do you know how mind blowing that is, dude? The fact that poor people are fat. That's insane.
Well, it's not even that, but just look at the material things that even our poor people have.
Yeah.
We got
brand new cars,
PS5.
brand new cars.
Yep.
iPhones.
Yep. So
$400 sneakers.
Exactly. And I think this is also creates,
and they're still unhappy, but they think it's because they're being held down. And it's no, it's because you've been given everything, and you still don't have a reason to wake up tomorrow, and you're unhappy, and you can't figure out how to balance those two.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think a lot of us think, well, once I get this next thing figured out, once I get an endless food supply figured out, everything will be good and everybody will be happy. And then you're still not happy because most of you don't have an actual purpose. You know what I mean? Once you figured that food supply out, that was your purpose, was to go hunt every day.
Exactly.
And now that you solved that problem, now you don't have a purpose. It's like those dudes that come back from war and there was I was a perfect killing machine and now I'm worthless in this society. I was a fucking hero, dude. I was the man. And now I'm nothing. Nothing. I think kids grow up that way now. And then somehow we've painted a picture that the capitalist society and the oligarchy and the patriarchy and white people have held all of you down. So now you'll never be able to do anything. It's that's literally... It's not true. Just come up with a really cool idea and go do it.
Exactly, yeah.
You may not become Jeff Bezos, but you don't need to be. You can just make $2 million a year.
Find out what you're good at. Find out what you're good at and do that.
If you made $2 million a year, you're rich as fuck, dude. You don't need Jeff Bezos money or Elon Musk. Stop focusing on those guys. It's a distraction.
Yep. And then, the social media stuff, the TikTok, all that, everybody thinks they can be a TikTok star or drive a Bugatti or something, and that defines who they are.
I've had that phrase for a long time that when people came to this country back in the day and they were poor, or even if you were here and you were born poor, the idea was if you worked hard enough, someday maybe your grandkids would be rich. Nowadays, people either come here poor or are born here poor, and they expect themselves to die rich. They expect it. They don't hope. They expect it. And somewhere between 20 and 40, they realize that's not how it works. And instead of being okay, I better fucking come up with a way to make it, they just blame everything and they lash out at the world around them and wonder why nobody wants to fuck them.
Yeah, I know. It is weird. I mean, I struggle with all the same stuff that everybody else does too, I'm trying to hustle and make money and I don't know, man. A lot of work out there sucks, and But it is what it is. I mean, I don't believe life is supposed to be easy. I mean, what's the point of that, you know? I mean, some people probably have had a relatively easy life. But life is not supposed to be easy. I mean, think about how long has mankind been on this earth? You had to literally hunt food, endanger yourself to hunt food, you know, and then you had to live shorter lives. There were no doctors to fix you if you broke your leg, you were walking with a limp for the rest of your life.
Or starving to death.
Because
you can't hunt anything down anymore.
Or you can't.
And you don't live in a berry
field. Or you couldn't
field.
climb back down from the mountain you just climbed, you know. So,
yep.
And now we expect life to be so much easier, and it's not. It's not supposed to be easy.
And it seems like easy lives don't breed happiness.
No.
Like, even rich people, like, have to do crazy travel, and they have to, like, get into extreme sports and jujitsu because, like, everything's too easy, right? They need to be challenged. They need something to fucking make them feel, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think any of this stuff scales, you know. Societies just gets too big, and I think that you can't scale indefinitely. This mindset of that we could all live together perfectly and all have income and all have everything taken care of. I don't think that scales to hundreds of millions of people in the country. I don't think it works.
Well, and it's like we also have this weird urge to like get rid of all conflict, but 100% of innovation that has ever happened is because of some version of conflict.
Correct. Yep.
I'm uncomfortable. It's too hot. You know, it's too dark. It's too cold. It's too warm. I already said that. It's too hot. You know, like, those people are fucking stealing all our food. You know, like, we're starving to death.
And the more people you have, the more your steps and actions are going to cause conflict with others. If you live, let's say you lived in Minnesota and there's only 10 people in Minnesota, you'd never run into each other. There's not conflict. You know what I mean? But now you got millions of people.
And probably no innovation as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Because there's no conflict. So.
Well, you might have your own innovation in order to make things easier for yourself, you know, figuring out cool ways to collect rainwater and so forth, you know.
Sure, okay, I see. Yeah. And that, no, you're right. Because, yeah, it's like I got to figure out a better way to hunt. I'm starving to death.
Yep,
so you
exactly.
make a better bow, you make a better arrow, whatever it may be. But, yeah, those are still conflicts, just they're not external.
The free market
conflicts.
Makes it possible to be more innovative on other things. And you can outsource
without conflict.
Conflict, yeah. I mean,
because you're just competing for the idea of filling a niche, right? Because it's not even a conflict that's needed. It's just like, hey, can we make a better way, a faster way, right? You don't have a conflict with time, but it would make my life easier, you know. So even that kind of irritation of like, I'm running out of time. Hey, well, can we create batteries that last longer? Can we speed up making toast? You know, whatever it may be, you know?
Yeah.
You could take
But
this
I
in
think
any direction.
even the simplest things become a conflict because of government and regulations and all these things that you just can't be innovative if you want to either, you know?
Yeah. It's interesting, too, because, like, the free market seems to allow more wild creativity, but the fascist governments like China and shit, they seem to be much better at directed innovation because they can take the whole of their government and all the companies that they control, which is everything, and go make a faster AI, make a smaller chip, do this. Whereas, like, we let the free market, because they don't really innovate anything in China. They just steal ideas from everybody else and do them cheaper and faster.
I think they do have innovation, but I do think that because they steal so much other stuff, it frees up some of that ability to be innovative as well. You know, when you're not developing
invent anything. They just find different ways to do the thing you invented.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm saying. And I'm not talking about gunpowder. Don't go that far back, you guys. I'm talking about, like, they didn't invent drones, right? We invented drones, and then we built them over there. And because they don't have the same regulations, which is why I brought this up, because we have this stifling government regulation on aircraft, that they were able to push that farther faster. But they didn't innovate it. They didn't invent it. They stole it from us and then
there's a level of innovation there's a level of innovation of building on top of something else. So I think there's always some innovation. But yeah, they can channel and focus when we necessarily can't. We do. Our government does do that, but it's terrible. It's about contracts
but I just don't think it's ever. I don't think it's ever our government doing anything. It's our government going, "Hey, can you guys figure this out?" And then it's somebody in our free market, right, that gets a government contract. So some people are going to go, "That's not free market." Listen, hold on. They give those contracts out to a lot of people, and they say, "Whatever you come up with, we get rights to for 20 years. And then through that process, you own the rights to that, and you can privatize that afterwards. So we give you the incentive to invent a thing, and you all have your own creative way of doing it. And then you're all competing with each other for the best, and we're going to buy them all from you. But then you get to do your own private market version of it." So, like, the idea of a rechargeable battery, a rechargeable AA battery, comes directly from the CIA, because they needed their recording devices to no longer be in the trunk of a car that ran on a literal car battery.
Mm-hmm.
They needed something that could actually be smaller. So we ended up with the Walkman. Because somebody was able to compact down a CIA recording device. May or may not be Sony, but
Yep.
You see where I'm going with this? Like, so they said, "Hey, we need a thing, and then you can privatize it however you want later." That's how that works.
Except that's probably not going to work too much with the AI stuff. It really sounds like the government's really kind of controlling.
Well, maybe
AI.
now, but they're definitely 5 to 10 years behind. Like, that AI shit was brewing for a while before. It sounds like I don't know if we listen to the same sources, but it sounds like only in the last 3 years has the government taken AI seriously. So they're joining the fight. They weren't pushing it. That's the difference there.
Now, from what I understand, though, is if you and I decided to start an AI company, government would be there. They would not just let us run wild with AI whatsoever.
I agree, but they didn't contract a bunch of companies and say, "Hey, create AI, and then we own it." You are correct, because I do agree that if you come up with a powerful enough AI, the government has to. They have to. It's a matter of national or even potentially global security. We can't allow some random rogue dude anywhere in the world to come up with literal Skynet from Terminator 2. Like, we can't allow that to happen. That's the end of the human race. It's over.
It probably is the next nuke. I mean, essentially. I agree, but this is not a war that can be won. This isn't.
Not if we actually create it.
This is a fool's errand, to be honest with you, like to try to control AI. It's not going to happen. And you're not going to stop civilians from coming up with AI. You're not going to stop as much as they're going to try to control everything.
It will be the end of the world.
Yeah, it is just not. I don't know how and I'm not sure that I feel all doomsday about it. But I definitely think that it's just it's impossible.
The moment we put AI into any version of a body where it like has a desire to like occupy space, it's over. We're done. That is the official. It's over. As long as AI is content occupying digital virtual space, I think we'll be okay. But if we put that fucking thing into a Terminator style body, And
it's gonna, it's gonna happen.
If it has the desire to occupy that body, if it doesn't just look at it like a finger, right? If it doesn't just look at it like a random extremity that it doesn't care, if it develops the desire to occupy space, at some point in time, we will consider it a threat, and we will attack first, and it will annihilate us because it'll shut the whole world down within a millisecond.
I would imagine it would go through phases because at some point you would think that some AI might realize that the body is an inconvenience as well. You know what I mean?
What we need to
you
do
have
is
to feed a body. You have to have a space. You have to you have to worry about your environment, stuff like that, which you would have less in the digital world. So
we got to give them their own planet. That's why we're gonna.
You're gonna create the Borg.
That's why we're gonna do Mars. That's the whole purpose of Mars, is to give them a whole ass planet, man. Like, just go take that one. You can have everything you want. Do the thing.
Yeah, it's interesting because I have artists friends and musician friends and all this stuff, the people that are really worried about this AI stuff, and it's like it's a losing battle.
Have I told you about my theory about how it's going to save rock and metal music?
No, I don't think so.
So fast forward 10, 15 years, everybody's going to use AI to either start a song or just make bangers. Oh, yeah. Creating any version of hip-hop, pop, EDM, it's all going to be meaningless because anybody's 11-year-old autistic neighbor is going to be creating bangers in their basement. The only thing that is going to fucking capture that human delight is going to be live music, and it's going to come down to, cool, you wrote this amazing song. We all know you used AI. Can you play it live? Can you make me feel the way you made me feel on record in a live concert environment? And so that is going to like give us Death Clock, right? Like Death Clock is going to be a thing because they're making AI style music, but they're fucking crushing it on stage. But then genuine rock bands, like all the way down to a local band like Uncle Daddy, people are going to be like, this is organic rock and roll. And you're never going to be able to prove you didn't use AI. So everybody's going to assume you did.
For sure.
So you might as well at least start it. Like, hey, I got this chord progression. I have a melody. What would you do with this? And like, you'd riff with it. You go back and forth, just like another musician, right?
Like you're trying to figure out a bridge to a song.
Exactly,
you could say AI, like, hey, write me 10 bridges, and then mash them together or take elements of the things that you like. That's what's going to happen. And people can cry about it and all that stuff.
It's inevitable.
It quit being babies. This is the future. This is what's going to happen.
But the future of respecting musicians is going to be, but can you get on stage and actually play that music on actual instruments? So I think it's going to ironically push rock music and metal music back to the top, just like it was in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. I don't think hip-hop, because just standing up there flowing isn't impressive now to a lot of people. That's why it's... Because now it's more about your delivery than the words you're saying now. Because all the things have been said in hip-hop, right? Like, this is true whether you guys agree with it or not. Like, this is part of the reason, like, hip-hop is either dead or dying, like, however you want to look at it. It's turning back into something else again. But I think it's going to be a resurgence of, the most organic version of rock and metal as well. So I think all that polished eyeliner shit, because it's already kind of happening now, right? You got to kind of already make your band stand out a little bit.
Right.
And 20 years ago, it would be, well, we're going to use fireworks. We're going to use, fucking crazy costumes. We're going to wear fucking paint on our face. We're going to... I literally just described Kiss 3 times, but we're going to be faster. We're going to be louder. We're going to do this. That's how death metal became. The next band just wanted to be louder and faster and more extreme, louder, faster, more extreme, louder, faster, and now you have blast beats, right? And none of that works anymore. Like now you have to stand out online. You have to be unique. You have to be relatable, so people have gone back to the eyeliner. Well, we want to look special again. It's the same ideas, just mixed up a different way. I think what's going to come back full circle is no one's going to care about what you look like. No one's going to care about whether your songs sound cool or not. Everybody's going to make catchy music. Everything is going to be like, yeah, but when I went to that concert, I will never fucking forget that night. Like, it was one of the best nights of my life. 2-3 cocktails. Me and the wife saw a fucking amazing concert. And then we went and had a great fucking steak dinner after. That's what's going to matter. Can you create a night that people will? Right. That's my honest belief about AI and the future of music.
Yeah, and I think we underestimate humanity in itself. I think we see a lot of stuff, like especially in like really high populated areas or something. You know, you see like maybe like in China or something, like a busy intersection, and somebody gets hit by a car, and nobody really like, bats an eye. That kind of stuff's going to happen. But I just think overall we're still going to have humanity in our art and everything like that too. And there's going to be a lot of shit art too, but that's nothing different than right now. Yep. So it might be kind of harder to tell the difference between AI and actual organic human art, but at some point in time, it will be impossible. And I don't know. At some point, is it even gonna matter anymore? I don't know. I really don't know.
The interesting thing is how it's already affecting war. Mm-hmm. Like, man, the AI pilots dominating human
dogfights. Yeah.
Jason, pull that up just so people know what we're talking about. AI pilots defeating human pilots 100% of the time.
Well, they don't have to. I mean, you're trying to fly at so many G's and control everything and still be, able to dogfight when you got a machine that doesn't even need to do that.
And a lot of people are like, yeah, well, you'll still want a human in that craft because that human is going to be able to override that system and discern, hey, I know what you're thinking, but no. And that's all fine and good. However, the whole point of the AI is that they can make turns at G speeds that it doesn't have to worry about a human. Mm-hmm. So even if you program it in that it is going to have to worry about a human, when a human knows they're going to make that turn, he can prepare for it. If an AI makes that decision in a split second, the human's never going to be able to prepare for that. So the human's going to pass out in the cockpit, and then he's not going to be able to hit those overrides. Yeah, in several tests, AI pilots have successfully defeated human pilots in simulated aerial dogfights. Yeah, and I think it was actually Japan. I think we did a war game with Japan, and they employed their AI.
Oh, really?
Fighters versus ours, and they smoked us for the first time. And our government was like, fuck.
Yeah, and that makes you wonder if, because of that, there'll be an incentive to somehow kind of stir up.
That's why
stir up shit right now, before shit, to get things popping off now instead of 10 years when we're fucked. I don't know.
So, do you think we're headed to World War III?
Man, I don't know. I think we're flirting with it because
I know some shit, so I want to see what you
How
think.
can you be involved in all these fronts and deals and not have some kind of... I mean, we're playing some scary games.
It's not us. We're involved, but it's not us playing the games. A lot of it is Russia and China getting bigger and bigger dicks because we're not able or willing to fucking put a stop to it. And it's been going on for 50, 60 years post World War II, man. Like, is we have very zero interest in actually occupying and running those countries. We want to have influence and get some resources and, do our thing, but like, we're not able or willing to commit to a British level occupation of India for 400 years. We're never going to do that. And so we definitely haven't made anything better, but I don't think we started this. I think this is all the Cold War, and it's just warming back up.
I don't know. To be honest with you, like, not to do, let's say with the petrodollar and everything like that, trying to actually control absolutely every single thing with trade and using our money, and I don't know. What you got? Whatever you got. I ain't picky. As long as it's not diet.
I got some like Arizona juices in there, like a fucking mango or something or whatever. Yeah, we got a bunch of shit over there.
Sprite will work.
And then we also got some Arizona juices down there, Jason. We got water in there. That fucking fridge is stocked up, dude. Every time I put beer in there, though, it goes really quickly, so I got to stash extra beer over in this one.
I don't know. I don't necessarily think we're not involved in what China and Russia does. I think we definitely are. I think there's parts of us that are probably married to what China does. You know, they own American businesses. They own land in America. There's some level of attachment or connection that we have with China. So I think that's really why shit really hasn't popped off between us and China. It's because there's some mutual...
Well, they need us.
Yeah, I think they need us.
Like, it takes a ballsy economist to say this publicly right now. We do not need China.
I think we need China.
They make things extremely convenient for us. We do not need them. They absolutely, their entire economy depends on us. If we just stopped, we don't have to, fuck the tariffs, dude. The tariffs are a negotiating strategy. I think you agree with that for the most part.
I have no idea what the fuck's going on with the tariffs, because everything is like, oh, we're going to have tariffs. We're going to have tariffs and it's going to pay for all this stuff. And then, oh, yeah, no, we're not going to have tariffs. We've agreed to have equal,
I know exactly what it is.
It's obviously it is what you're saying.
It's a stall tactic is what it really is.
It is. For sure it is a negotiating tactic. But what will the end result be? I don't know. I really don't know.
We don't need anything from them. We need to slowly get out of that space. And their entire economy is based on selling shit to us.
Mm-hmm.
The rest of the world combined that they sell shit to doesn't.
Yep.
It's still not what they sell to us.
Yep.
And people are go, yeah, but if they locked up the rest of the world, no, that's not how the economy works.
Yep.
Like our whole economy will get fucked up if we lose 10, 20%. We're like 60% of their economy or something like that, or 52 or 56 or 54, depending on which fucking study you look at.
And you can't make that up by saying, oh, well, we'll just start selling more stuff to
someone else, right?
To Finland or no, you're not.
Finland doesn't.
You can't. You're not going to sell that
Never
many
gonna happen.
Nike shoes.
Exactly. Exactly. There's just not enough.
Yeah.
Because America's built on a different style economy, and what I'm saying is if we just did a straight up embargo and just like, we're just not buying anything from China, including American goods that are made in China. We're just going to do it for 1 year. It would completely devastate the Chinese economy to the point where the entire Chinese Communist Party would just fully collapse.
Mm-hmm.
Like within a calendar year. Like it's just done. It's that our house of cards in our economy is a fucking brick shit house compared to their house of cards.
And we do live in a house of we do live in a house of cards, but they're worse. I mean, you think about how much, in order to have the government they have, and how much control they have to have over that population, and how much.
I'm just talking about the economy, by the way.
I'm just saying the whole country is a house of cards anyway, because you got to keep all that many people under your thumb.
Which they're having major protests because of these tariffs.
Yep.
That's what our media isn't saying, because this is what pisses me off. Our media hates Donald Trump so bad they won't give him a single win. So you got to be very careful who you're listening to on these Chinese tariff arguments, because Chinese companies are laying off people, going bankrupt like overnight.
Yep.
because their economy is built on such a fucking hill of bullshit. It's a straw foundation that overnight a company loses one contract and that entire company is done because it's not based on a real economy. It's based on a government saying you get 100% of this business that comes from only America. That's not a healthy company. That's not a healthy economy. We don't do that in our country. It's just not how we do things because we know better, right? So you can sell shit to China. You can sell shit to Russia. You can sell shit anywhere you want. But any good businessman knows if I lose that customer, I better have 5 more lined up. China can't line up 5 more Americans. Mm-hmm. They just can't. And
what upsets me about it is these people that think that we are not that whatever does have to happen, we have to get some manufacturing back into America.
Yep.
These things are going to cause disruptions, and they're going to cause price increases and growing pains and all these things. But these dorks here there think that that's bad. Like you can't have that. That's a sign that it's not working, and it's. No, all change is going to involve some kind of growing pain, some kind of disruption in a marketplace. But we're not allowed to have that because that would be proof that somebody's wrong about something. We have to go through this. Now, do I have faith that the government's going to pull this off? No, of course not. Government sucks at everything it does.
I do now, though. I do now, though, because for me, it's very. This is also why I can't stand the left right now because it's very obviously a bipartisan position as well. Because this initiative was started by Biden. They invested how many billions of dollars did Biden invest into U.S. manufacturing?
Well, the CHIPS thing.
I think the number is like $8 billion or something like that. The CHIPS Act is part of it, but it's also just basic manufacturing. So. For example, my company, who's never bought anything from China, we do work for China. Like, they send us molds that we, fucking build and shit so they can make masks, stupid shit like that, right? Or gates or, like child gates or whatever. But we make the stuff that they make the stuff from. Like, they don't, that's what I mean by they don't innovate. Like, when they want to make baby gates, they hire an American company to design the thing. You know what I mean? So then they just make the physical gate for cheaper than we could. But there's other companies that do make certain parts in China that already they're going, well, we have 500 parts that we're going to pull back to the U.S. because of these tariffs. So we want to hire you guys to make this because we think this actually, even if it's not cheaper, we think it's just going to be safer and more stable for you guys to make these parts rather than us having them done in China. 500 different part numbers is maybe 100x what my company could even potentially handle.
Mm-hmm.
So now my company turns around and not only expands, not only tries to hire more people, but has to start paying people way better wages to incentivize them to come into this industry. And now that employs what would effectively probably be 50 more human beings in the state of Minnesota that would be making close to $100,000 a year. That's very good for the economy. That's the exact opposite of what happened when we moved things to China.
Right.
So all of these Democrats that are saying this is bad don't care about average poor Americans who actually want and need better jobs. This entire idea that we're like funneling money up to the billionaires, that's by keeping shit in China.
Yep.
Fuck China because we employ American workers at livable wages. Bring it back here, baby.
I think billionaires find
it will get more expensive for everybody, but we're all going to have more money and it won't hurt us as much.
I think billionaires are ahead of the curve on all of this stuff. So you get it. They're going to make money if you outsource. And there's going to be billionaires that make money when you bring it back home.
Facts.
That's just how it is. And there will always be billionaires. And we need to stop being little babies about billionaires, too, because that shit's just...
Because someday there's going to be trillionaires.
Yep. And it's it's selective, too, because if you notice, these people don't care about certain billionaires, but they care about other billionaires.
They loved Elon Musk until he sided with Trump. Now Elon Musk is a problem. Literally, he was the darling of the left. Electric cars, fucking... solar farms.
And these dorks that love NASA and everything. What is better than fucking NASA? Is like, oh, you got some dude making space rockets right now that colonize planets. We love fucking Star Trek. Fucking dorks. And I get it. I like all that stuff too. I'm a dork, but like, it's just, it's nonsense. You all right there, buddy? You gonna die? Fucking dork. But yeah, I don't know. I think we stop worrying about that kind of bullshit. Pretending we care about this oligarchy nonsense and all that crap. That shit's existed. It's been existing for a long time. There's always been the Carnegies and the J.P. Morgans and go back over 100 years.
Which
these
the
Rockefellers and all these people were controlling shit before more than you realize.
Here's the thing: the oligarchy isn't even a good argument because it's not true. We're not an oligarchy. If anything, we're an aristocracy. The difference between these two things, Jason, you can feel free to pull this up. An oligarchy is just random rich people, usually mobsters, corrupt rich people. Those come and go. Aristocracies are families, right? So we have the Clintons, the Bushes, the Obamas, the Trumps, the Rockefellers, the Schwabs, the Gateses now. So if you guys are going to compare other versions of governments, at least use the right one. Because oligarchy is just simply... Russians have an oligarchy. Yeah, so both oligarchy and aristocracy are forms of government where power is concentrated in the hands of a select few. They differ in basis of their power. Oligarchy is ruled by a small group, often based on wealth or some form of other elite status. Aristocracy is ruled by hereditary nobility. So here's my point. The Rockefellers, the Schwabs, right? These family, the Bushes, the Clintons, right? Where you have the Trumps, right? They're aristocrats. Like it's these families, these legacies that they attain a certain power and then they never lose it. And they'll spread that power through private institutions, through government, positions, even if the Bushes never became presidents, they were governors of like multiple different states. Florida, Texas. How many other states were the Bushes governors of? You see where I'm going with the difference there? Like, aristocracy is way more accurate to describe what we're talking about. Because the Jeff Bezoses and the Elon Musks, those are random people.
Those are the new blood, new money people. Yep. But, I mean, they still repeat. It's still a repeating thing because, Jeff Bezos went and bought a newspaper and stuff. But if you look at, didn't J.P. Morgan do the same thing?
Right,
he
but
bought
they're
a whole
not
bunch of
running the
newspapers
government.
And stuff. Running the government, I don't think any of them are running the government. Do they influence the government? Sure.
Well, the Clintons, the Bushes, only two. Wow. Yeah, I thought it was more. Well, because I know HW is part of the CIA, but I'm talking the ones that literally ran huge private companies and then eventually ran the government. The Clintons, the Bushes. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, specifically the Clintons. But the Trumps are there now. The Trumps are absolutely part of that aristocracy. And, it's unfortunate, but that's the world we live in. And this is just always how it's going to be, dude. Yep. This is always how
everything
it's
that's going on right now is just stuff that's always happened. People pretend that somehow we're in some new situation. It's not. It's the same shit.
And if we are an oligarchy, then we've always been an oligarchy, because what it said in oligarchy is just a select few of elite,
he
which changes hands, right?
But
every 8 years.
Can you not say this about any president?
Or every 20
Any
years.
president, I just got elected to enrich themselves. You can say that going back how many presidents? I mean, that's just how it is. It's like
pretty much all of them except for George Washington.
Nothing
right?
has changed, you know.
Isn't George Washington the only one that definitely didn't do it to enrich himself?
I don't know. I think we romanticize all of these presidents.
Fair enough, but I think he's the only one we can definitely say didn't do it to enrich himself. He turned it down 2 or 3 times before he finally accepted the nomination and then got overwhelmingly elected. And then he willingly turned it down after 2 terms, to set the tradition. So I think he's the only one we can definitely say didn't do it to enrich himself. Everybody else is questionable at best.
Well, it's a matter of did he enrich himself during that time? I don't know. I guess I'd have to really deep dive into that stuff. I just generally assume that people that are on top of things aren't as benevolent and saintly as some people like to make them out to be, including current President Trump, But I don't think he's the exact same thing as other people. I think he's a result of the shit that we've been doing for decades and decades and decades, but I don't trust that we're going to get the result that we want.
Holy shit, look at that.
What's that?
The last guy whose net worth didn't increase at all is JFK. Well, he also died while he was president. Everybody else's, but the biggest net worth difference before and after president is Bill Clinton.
Yeah, that would make sense.
That actually doesn't surprise me at all. And number 2 is Barack Obama, which also doesn't surprise me at all. And the George W. Bush one, that dude owned the Rangers and an oil company. So he was a legitimate businessman before he went into the presidency. So his just straight up, he could have just doubled. But all he did is doubled. He went from 20 million to 40 million, that's million, right? Yeah. So a simple doubling. That could just be having your money in the right fucking investment accounts. Like you do nothing and your money can double in fucking however. When was this put out? Because he left office in 2008. 2024. Yeah. So your net worth doubling from 20 million to 40 million since 2008 is nothing in this economy. So we can dismiss that one. The most suspicious one is the Bill Clinton one, who went from nothing to over 120 million. JFK is super interesting, but he did die while he was president, so maybe that means nothing. He just didn't increase anything while he was president.
Yeah, the Clinton thing is really interesting because, where did he come from? Backwoods state.
Dope dealing.
Really nobody. I don't think his parents were exceptional people in society. Hillary's parents probably were a little bit more.
Actually, wasn't Bill Clinton descendants of slave owners? Didn't they own a plantation? I thought he was actually pretty well off. Yeah, Jason, let us know.
I don't know that his parents per se were.
Maybe not, but like somebody in their family. Yeah.
But if you got to think too is we're talking Iran-Contra affair.
Maybe it was oil money.
That's when Clinton gets involved here. So there's a CIA connection between the Bushes, and then the Clintons come in. You want to run all that shit through Mena, Arkansas, while Bill is governor there and so forth, and that's how he becomes the president right afterwards and continues this perpetual CIA running the shit show. So,
well, I knew they were doing like the drug running shit through Arkansas, but you're saying the Contra also ran through Arkansas?
That's what the Iran-Contra affair was. It was guns and drugs in order to fund.
But we were doing that in South America.
Out of Mena, Arkansas. That was the base in which everything.
So you're saying it went from Arkansas to South America to Iran?
It went. Literally, guns were manufactured, ghost guns even. They created some initiatives, some jobs bill where all these companies started making.
Bill Clinton is a descendant of slave owners. That's what I thought. Thank you, Jason.
Right, but I don't think his direct parents.
No,
were
but
rich.
here's what I'm saying. There's some plantation money floating through that line, is what I'm saying. So he came up in a good college, and he didn't come from nothing, is what I'm getting at. Like, but back to what you're saying. So the Iran Contra, because I know about this, and this is while HW is president.
Correct. Yep. And
Well, actually, technically,
Reagan
it was while he was
president.
vice president.
Reagan
under
was president. Yep.
And then it continued through that.
Mm-hmm.
But scroll down. Is there anything that says anything about Arkansas in here? Because I trust you. So what you're saying
is Barry Seal was the pilot.
So we made guns, sold them down there.
We shipped drugs and guns.
Well, no. Barry Seals was bringing drugs up here, and then we caught on and said, you're going to bring guns back. And then how did that affect Iran, Iraq?
The U.S. government approached Barry Seal to do this to begin with. Barry Seal they scouted him because he was just shady enough to, like in the movie, it even shows like he's you know how there's a embargo on Cuban cigars and things like that, right? Yep, Barry Seal. They made him an operative, basically, and it involved, flying over and taking pictures of rebel.
Yeah, but I thought that's all in South America.
Yes, back and forth.
And obviously, by the way, for the listeners, they've pulled it up on screen. There's enough just on screen to say, obviously, what Jamal is saying is true. I'm just catching up. So, yeah, paint the connection for me.
Yeah, so that's how the CIA needs congressional approval in order to do their operations and stuff. But if you can create a black market where you sell drugs and weapons and exchange, flying them back and forth and whatever, now you have all this money that you can do all these operations without congressional approval. So that means then nobody gets to know the ins and outs of what's going on. You can run assassinations, without getting any approval from some National Intelligence Committee and stuff like that.
This is that USAID NGO shit.
That is essentially the same shit was going on. Yeah, that we just found a different, because that USAID stuff was around since Kennedy. So right. I think Kennedy started it or whatever.
Yeah, which started off as something really virtuous.
That was a high CIA time.
Right.
That's when they were involved in everything. So that would make sense.
So basically, what we did in what you're saying is, what we did in South America created enough fear in the government to empower the CIA to create black book operations, which they then turn around and did in Iran and Iraq.
No, I think the CIA realized how quickly they could kind of control their own purse strings and really run things from behind the curtain.
So how does what we were doing in South America directly?
Because we
overthrow government
because we overthrow governments all the time. We're involved in every single thing from Chile to Cambodia and all that stuff. The government is involved into pushing.
So yeah, that was the moment where the CIA realized they could do it.
Yep, the CIA realized at some point they went essentially rogue. You know what I mean? They're still a legitimate government agency, but they realized, hey, we don't need permission to do anything. We can be the ones that decide who needs to go, who we should put into power, and so forth. Why would you leave that up to chance?
Yeah, I mean, we know what a black budget is. The crazy thing is the NGO shit. I was listening to this dude break down what USAID really does, and it was part of the Doge audit. He's not part of Doge. He was one of the few people who understood what was going on unbiasedly, and he was like, no. Elon's right, because here's what USAID actually does. And the short version of it is USAID became the shady arm of the CIA when the CIA couldn't risk getting their hands dirty.
Right.
So they created
They use front companies and
organizations
stuff. Yep.
out of the United States that we funded, but they're not American companies. They're non-government organizations. So we can't be held liable for it. And then those were operated basically by the CIA.
Yep. You
Some
get
super
plausible deniability. Yep.
Some super dark level, like all the conspiracies are true type shit. Like holy fuck. And that's where people started to lose respect for me, which is funny because 20 years from now, they're all going to, right now, there's a whole wave of people discovering that Pizzagate was real. It's like, yeah, we figured that out when that happened. Like, that's one of the things that made me really be able to hone my teeth and figure out in borderline real time that what conspiracy is real and which ones are bullshit and how to dismiss a conspiracy and how to go, nope, this one's actually legit. And Pizzagate is where, like, kind of all my prior conspiracy knowledge, I was able to figure that one out real quick in real time just by reading the information myself. And now there's a whole generation of people going, holy shit, this Pizzagate thing seems like it was actually real. Yeah, no
well,
dude.
What they do is when they want to shut down a conspiracy is they will attach either a crazy person to it or basically balloon up one really bad thing that maybe wasn't true.
Yep.
And that is used to discredit the whole conspiracy.
Yep.
But, yeah.
So that's what this dude was kind of describing as like USAID is what the CIA isn't willing to get their hands dirty with because it's too much risk. So, like, all the quote unquote all the conspiracies are true thing is a very valid thing to say out loud now. Like, yeah, it's all true. All the shit that you heard the paranoid people whisper, it's real.
All right.
It's all fucking real, man. Like, the only two I can say assertively now with 100% certainty, definitely not true. The Earth is not flat, and we definitely landed on the moon. The moon landing was not faked. Maybe the footage was faked, but we got there. We landed there. Like, we know other governments that have verified that, yep, that fucking lander is still there. Like, they really did it. But that Van Allen radiation belt conspiracy thing might have destroyed the footage. But those are the only true I can definitively say. The rest of them are very much valid. And that's why I said 9/11, that one's back on the table too. That one's right back on the fucking table, dude. Because I was backing off that one over the course of the last 10 years. But that one's right back on the table, dude. Because that sounds exactly like some USAID, NGO propping up Hamas shit. You know what I mean?
Right now, obviously, they don't want to give Trump a win on anything. The media doesn't, whatever. But if you also look at how nasty and mean they were fighting because the USAID stuff is getting looked at and hacked to death and whatever, how much they want to protect that, to me, just it looks like guilt to me. It looks like they know all along what this is all about. And it looks like it's a big funneling operation, too. You send money back to campaigns and so forth, and so you're constantly cheating elections, essentially.
Did you see what Ukraine allegedly kicked back to U.S. politicians?
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
Jason, pull this up. Alleged Ukrainian kickbacks to American politicians. The numbers are staggering.
Yep. You got these
tens of millions
Nancy
of dollars.
Pelosi, these people
Chuck
that actually
Schumer.
make money from these deals. Yeah.
We're gonna send you
Like
was it? $400 billion.
Like, they're brokers. I mean, that's really what they are, essentially.
We're gonna send you $400 billion, and then you're gonna send us about $1 billion back, divided by 12 or whatever the fuck it ends up being. Yeah, pull this up, Jason. This is like, but Trump's deporting people to El Salvador. Well, they came from El Salvador, and they're fucking criminals. So, yeah, that's where they go. That's how the law works. You send them where they came from.
See, I don't know. I barely pay attention to that stuff that's going on as far as the deportation, because, frankly, I don't give a shit about MS-13 and any of those things like that. I don't care. They need to be gone. So I'm not going to sit here and really scrutinize everything about these people. I'm going to give the government some benefit of the doubt in the situation, but
And they're definitely going to make mistakes.
Yeah, they're definitely going to make mistakes.
Government always makes mistakes.
Why are these people crying about the one person, but they didn't care about all the other people that get stepped on by government left and right? Because for all the stuff that they want, they don't care.
Right.
You know. So why should I care? Why should I care? No, but
they don't. They're not getting due process.
That's not how due process. I mean, I think that. I don't think those people say know what due process really actually is.
Well, here's the thing: is you suddenly now care about the Constitution?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because last year you were willing to throw it out, and you said free speech doesn't apply to hate speech.
Mm-hmm.
Like, bitch, you either believe in the Constitution or you don't. Like, you don't get to pick and choose. Here's the thing: they broke the law. They're here illegally. That in and of itself is a crime. However, we're pretty lenient on that because we get it. Because we're all immigrants. But then once you commit a crime, that's the end of the line. You've already fucked it up now.
Don't you think the MS-13 thing don't you think that's a weird hill to die on too?
Yeah, like people you decide to defend.
Yeah, like why? I mean, obviously you're not.
Same thing with the Hamas people they're terrorists or terrorist sympathizers, and people are like, oh, they just wrote an article. What about free speech? You literally said hate speech isn't free speech. They're actual terrorist sympathizers, and now you suddenly are defending free speech? What the fuck are you talking about?
What are you looking for?
He's trying to find the kickbacks. Go to Twitter. Okay. Yeah, go to Twitter. We learned this last time. You got to go to Twitter, and you'll find the actual posts.
Yeah, and I don't know. I honestly don't know if all that kickback stuff is real.
Neither do I. That's why I said alleged.
But I do believe that does happen at some scale. It happens
more than plausible.
100%.
But back to what we were saying. Like, fuck. What were we talking about? What were we talking about before we got just distracted? Fuck.
Kickbacks. We were talking about kickbacks.
And then we moved on, and then we got brought back to kickbacks.
I don't know. Oh, MS-13 dying on that hill and deportation.
Yeah. And the idea that like suddenly these same people who last year were saying hate speech isn't free speech. So my words aren't free speech, but this person can publish an article sympathizing with actual terrorists, and that is free speech, and they're also not a citizen of this country. So you're saying they get more rights than the actual people of this country?
That's what it feels like, yeah.
Like, that's an insane stance to take. That's not a rational... Same thing. You want due process here, but which is part of the Constitution. That's the real argument they're making. They're arguing due process because it's part of the Constitution. But a year ago, 5 years ago, I had to prove I was vaccinated. A year ago, we were back to talking about whether I have the right to own and bear arms again.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So it's like, stop, you guys. Like, stop citing the Constitution when you don't live and die by the Constitution.
Yeah.
You've lost credibility. I don't want to fucking hear it anymore.
I don't like people that make constitutional arguments like that. Because
unless they always do it.
Because it's selective, yep.
I never do it. I never do it. Because, even when they go, we're going to chemically castrate pedophiles. I go, no, I think it's the Sixth Amendment, cruel and unusual punishment. You can't do that. You got to treat them like everybody else. You can't do that. It's just, I get it. I hate pedophiles too. If it were up to me, we'd fucking murder them all on the spot. But they still get the same constitutional rights as everybody else, and chemical castration is cruel and unusual. You don't do it, and this is the point. Cruel and unusual is defined as, do you do it to everybody? If you don't castrate chemically every single sex offender, you can't just do it to pedophiles. It's cruel and unusual. You just don't do it. That simple. I don't like it, but that's what the Constitution says. We're going to abide by it because they're inalienable rights. That's the whole point. I'm very consistent on this, and I will die on this fucking hill.
That's
how it works, dude.
When I make constitutional arguments, I only do it because that's where they usually try to make an argument for the Constitution, so I try to meet them on their level. If the Constitution, but I generally don't, because let's say if the Constitution said it was okay to bring slavery back, obviously none of us would support that. So it's not that
True.
we're not even really making constitutional arguments.
Okay, I see what you're saying. Keep going. I gotta piss.
Yeah.
I can hear you.
Oh yeah. So no, I get tired of these people that are selective about the constitutional arguments that they want to make. I'd rather not have it be a constitutional argument, period. But because we shouldn't need a constitution, these things should be understood. But I always feel weird when he leaves and I gotta keep talking. But yeah, one of the things that pisses me off about that is the media's complicitness in all of this when they refer to, an illegal immigrant as a Maryland man or something, in the headlines to, elicit some kind of response from a base to get them pissed off, to change the perception of what's really going on. And I'm not, any people are going to get deported that probably shouldn't have been deported. And there are going to be people that don't get some due process. But these people that are arguing for all that stuff never cared about it at any other time until now. So,
well, I mean, they also let, 15 to 17 million people in the country?
Yeah, I don't even know what that number is, and they didn't care about the people getting raped or murdered and whatever,
or how it disproportionately affects the most.
Exactly. Yeah.
And how it actually hurts our system.
Yep. And they're worried about all this overstepping by government, but yet then created the situation in which overstepping might be the only way to fix the actual issue, too. I don't know. What do you mean? If you open your borders to 20 million people, and then all of a sudden you're going to have, if you're going to try to run them all through a court system within a short amount of time, it's an impossible thing, and that's why even during times of war, the Constitution's been suspended and all this stuff, habeas corpus, blah blah blah. Yeah, So you create the situation, and then you expect to deal with the situation perfectly within the constitutional confines or whatever. I just don't see how that can be done. If you let in 20 million people in a year, you're gonna have to do something extraordinary and outside of the realm of bogged down whatever bureaucracy. I don't know. What do you think? And a due process doesn't mean everybody gets a day in court. There's processes that are to deport people. So it's just a buzzword to say that they're not getting due process.
I do agree with the buzzword thing, because here's the thing. This is a constitutional law argument.
Mm-hmm.
It's not an ethics argument. And lawyers spend a minimum of 7 years in college to begin going to court and arguing about these things. And they don't agree with each other. Lawyers are not the law. They don't represent the law. They argue about the interpretation and boundaries of the law.
Yep.
And this is very important because in one argument, you could say, in the Constitution, it says, no government gave you these rights, therefore no government can take away these rights. They were given to you by your Creator. So you have a group of people who have used that logic to justify foreign wars because we're going to liberate and spread democracy because everybody deserves these rights. You have another group of people who on the other side of the aisle say this is why immigrants, even if they're not citizens, they deserve these rights. And I agree with the left on this because if you're a visitor in our country and you're a victim, you have the right to an attorney and due process and a speedy trial. And if you're a visitor in our country and you're accused of a crime, you absolutely deserve all those same things. And it does not say anywhere in the Constitution that only American citizens are given these rights. However, they turned around and they passed a fascist law that circumvents the Constitution called the Patriot Act that said if we call you a terrorist, you don't get due process. And then Obama expanded that to say, because the first version said, but this doesn't apply to American citizens. Because this is about the war on terror.
Indefinite detention certainly did.
Well, that was when Obama expanded it to say America is a battleground. So now the Patriot Act does apply to American citizens.
That was the point of that, yes.
Yep. And so if you actually read that, which I got accused of not being aware today, you need to read it. It doesn't actually explicitly fuck you. It absolutely literally says that. That's the whole fucking point. Is now the second version of the Patriot Act can absolutely suspend. It's not only surveillance, dude. You got to go find the deep dive, dude. You're not going to get an AI search on this, bro. You're going to actually have to go find the Patriot Act and then search this out, which probably isn't even the right podcast to do this because we've talked about this ad nauseum. And anybody who wants to tell me I'm wrong, fuck you. I have nothing to prove to you. It's in writing. I know the fucking facts. Basically, the point is if they call you a terrorist, they do not have to give you an attorney. They can hold you indefinitely without a speedy trial, without due process. That is the whole point. Now, the only argument is whether they can do those things on American soil. So that's why Obama also never closed down Guantanamo Bay like he said he was going to, because that's what we use Guantanamo Bay for.
And didn't the little Chicago PD even have their own little black sites?
Maybe.
They did.
I don't know.
They were doing that stuff.
Look that up. Look that up. That's way more interesting. Chicago black site for terrorism.
They had their own secret arrest place.
That's fucked.
Yep.
Because now they're doing it on American soil.
And this
right?
was during this was during that same time period in which we were worried about indefinite detention and all that stuff.
So when Donald Trump turns around, whether you agree with this or not, calling the cartels terrorist organizations, they now have lost their rights. If you're a terrorist or a terrorist sympathizer according to this law, under the definition of these two words, you have now lost your rights to due process, including, thanks Obama, if you're an American citizen, but definitely if you're an illegal immigrant. So
looking for that.
I'm pretty sure every single thing that Trump is doing is perfectly legal.
I don't know.
According to the laws that have been passed. Maybe not according to the Constitution, but the people who are arguing for the Constitution lack credibility because, again, a year ago they were talking about we don't care about the Constitution. It can be changed. Yep. So they're not credible in that argument. The only people who are credible in the defense of the Constitution are people who always argue on behalf of the Constitution, no matter whether they like the argument or not. So that's the issue. That's what I really think the issue is the people arguing on behalf of the Constitution aren't credible because they don't care about the Constitution. They're only using it because it benefits them right now.
Secret interrogation facility reveals creeping aspects of war on terror. Chicago.
He got it. Chicago police are running a horrifying CIA-style black site out of a warehouse.
What did I tell you? See? And that goes back. That's back to the Obama days.
A remarkable report from Spencer. Go back up. From Spencer Ackerman at The Guardian has revealed in detail the existence of an interrogation facility used by Chicago police to detain and hold people in secret. The report describes how police have used a nondescript warehouse to keep detainees out of booking databases, beat prisoners, shackle them for prolonged periods, and keep them from legal counsel for up to 24 hours, including even children as young as 15. Holy shit. If that sounds familiar, it's because the U.S. has used similar facilities around the world since 9/11 in its prosecution of the war on terror. See, this is literally what I'm talking about. So all of this would technically be legal if the government, because this is all it takes under the Patriot Act. The government just has to do this. That person's a terrorist. Nope, terrorist. Boom.
Yep.
So when those mass shootings started happening, and people are like, that's a terrorist. Why is he not a terrorist? And I'm like, yo, do not throw that word around. So do you remember me going off on everybody? I was like, stop fucking labeling your neighbors as terrorists. I was like, you guys do not know what that word means. You do not know what you're asking for. You do not know what you're justifying, you guys. As soon as somebody's a terrorist, they lose their right to constitutional protection. No, Jared, you don't know what you're talking. No, I know exactly what the fuck I'm talking about. God damn it, you guys. Calm the fuck down. We are so willing to vilify everybody. And now, like you said, to go back to where this started was, they're willing to vilify their fellow American and call him a terrorist.
Yep.
And they're willing to vilify and just completely annihilate his right to due process. But for some reason, they want to defend Hamas and MS-13 people. Like that's a weird jump in morals of who you're deciding to defend. It's just so strange to me.
And the thing is like I always say, my biggest complaint is that most people don't have these nuanced conversations. And it's like this is their chance to try to make that nuanced kind of, oh, we don't support MS-13, but that guy isn't an MS-13. But they're trying to make a nuanced argument. But why now? Why is this the hill that you're trying to die on? This is the thing is this is why I don't think the left's coming back anytime soon from this stuff, because
they don't have a principled code.
No.
There's no train of
logic. I can't take that serious. Like I want
it's
them to
a constant moving of the goalpost.
A nuanced conversation about these things because not everything is a black and white.
Hey, what's up, Eric? Shout out to Eric Heis. Keep going. Keep saying.
Yeah, I want people to have these. I want people to have these nuanced conversations, but that's the only time they want to when they're worried about, Trump getting any kind of win. If they'll try to do that. It's like I totally 100% fine with them being concerned with stuff. It just doesn't seem genuine. It's not. It's not genuine.
Which I do want to say for the record, I do believe even the illegal criminal immigrants deserve due process because I don't believe or support the Patriot Act. I believe it directly violates the Constitution. Just to put this to bed, all of these people, even the worst of the worst, deserve due process. My question then becomes, and I do not have the answer, is, but do we have to house them here while they go through due process? Because at the end of the day, our court system is overwhelmed with our own citizens, and I do believe our own citizens should have some level of higher priority towards a speedy trial, right? To process through the system. We can't put our own people on a backlog, right? So okay, you get your due process, but do I have to keep you here until you get your due process? No, I don't think I do. I still can deport you, and then at a later court date, you can come back to Florida or whatever the fuck. So we got, and then we'll do the thing.
But see, I think because our court systems are bogged down, you got to ask yourselves, why is our court systems bogged down? Two reasons. One, too many things become illegal, and so you're constantly pushing people through the systems for the pettiest, stupidest shit that is bogging down the system.
Great point.
But secondly is the people that create the most crime, like in Minneapolis, it's the same few criminals that are constantly in and out of the system over and over because we're not strong enough on actually punishing criminals.
The actual criminals.
Actual criminals, yeah. Not saying group of people.
The
I'm saying
repeat offenders.
repeat offenders. You'll have one guy with a rap sheet. He's been
The
70
recidivists.
things.
The recidivists, to quote fucking Leahy.
It's like this is bogging down the system. I don't know. We that's the part of the problem that I think our court systems would work just fine if we would actually just enforce the laws, and politics wasn't involved in that whole process too. Because it is the same criminals over and over and over and over again doing the same bullshit, terrorizing neighborhoods.
Yep.
This guy's been in and out of jail constantly.
And that's true on a micro and macro level.
Yep.
That's the constant is, we just don't seem to act. And it's part of the beauty and the flaw of our system is because even criminals have rights. Because in El Salvador, the reason these guys are locked up in these prisons isn't because they just randomly showed up. It's because El Salvador knows who the fuck they are, and they're like, this is a rapist, this is a pedophile, this is a murderer, which is why we kicked him out of our country, and then we were forced to take him back by Donald Trump. And no, we're not just going to let him walk on the streets. Like, they act like these guys are just plumbers and drywallers. No, they're not. Because first of all, if they were just plumbers and drywallers, they're not on the first wave of deportations, right? These guys are like definitely directly affiliated or sympathizers, which means even if they're not a direct gang member of a cartel, what it means, a sympathizer means they're doing something to directly support them, usually financially. So their brother is directly involved and they're sending money back to their brother, or they're exchanging information. That's the first wave. The first wave are the super obvious cream of the crop. And yeah, they're going to make some mistakes. There's going to be mistakes in identity.
But I think...
But it's not just random plumbers and drywallers, you guys. It's just such
what would be the consequence of if Trump not just rounding them up and flying them to El Salvador? What would happen is, let's say we rounded them up and then put them through the system. Guess what? Next president comes back. It's back to where it was before. All those people are walking free again. Blah 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 blah. You know what I mean?
Which is why I think you're right, and I don't think the DNC's coming back anytime soon because they're dying on the wrong hills for the wrong people.
And so it's like, how can I be mad that some politician is going out of due process and out of the Constitution and all that stuff when you've put them in a situation where we have to address these criminals. We can't have all this gang violence and all this shit going on. And then
what are you pulling up here? U.S. Department of Justice announces civil rights investigation into consideration of race in prosecutorial decision making by Minnesota's. Oh yeah. So locally here, we are now going to give people. This is the nutshell of what this is. I'm going to summarize this in dumb guy terms, right? So everybody can relate to this. Basically, if you're black, we're going to give you a lesser sentence now. So it's actual racism in favor of if you're not white. They don't exactly say that literally, but you do not have to read between any lines. Right. You don't have to read between any lines. That's what they're flat out saying. They're just not literally directly saying.
Because how do you prove results, right? You'd have to presume you're trying to say, hey, we have this systemic problem, this disproportionate amount of people getting charged for crimes because of the skin color. How do you fix that except for by messing with the numbers after the fact? You know what I mean? Don't get me wrong.
No,
man.
actually, I'm a little confused.
But if
I'm going to be honest, I'm a little confused. What do you mean?
By like what you just said, by giving people less time and so forth, like that. Okay. Now you can show a metric that your system, your plan that you just created is working. We have
less black people doing less time.
Yeah.
Well, you just forced that to happen, is what you're saying.
But meanwhile, it's not real. It's not organic. It's nonsense. And what you get instead is more repeat offenders.
Right. I mean, correct. Crime will actually end up going up.
More crime will happen.
But they'll show that black people are doing less time, So they'll be able to fake the stats and say black people are less oppressed in Minnesota. So this so what you're saying is, whether you realize you're saying this or not, wow, dude, you're fucking smart. So what you're really saying, whether you realize it or not, is this is a political win. It's not an actual societal or crime win. Crime won't go down. It'll actually create more repeat offenders because the punishment is less, right? But you can take it and say overall black people aren't getting sentenced to more jail time because you're able to manipulate the numbers, and then you're able to use that as a metric that you can sell as a political win. And why? Okay, so why? What does that get you?
And that's the best.
Does that somehow get more black immigrants? Does that somehow get more federal funding? Like, what is the benefit of doing that?
It looks good for the politician who wants votes.
So who's trying to get those votes? Who's passing that? Because that person's going to run for a higher office.
Democrats, yeah. But here's the thing.
No, but let's name a name. Let's figure out who's doing this, because we know that's that city attorney general. We know it's that city attorney general, Moriarty. We know it's her. So we also know it's probably Keith Ellison, right? And we also probably know it's Tim Walz. So now, look at every single thing these three people do over the next 2 to 4 calendar years. I guarantee you every single one of them is going to seek a higher office. Tim Walz is definitely running for president. Keith Ellison is probably going to run for governor. Like, don't be surprised, because he wants to go up, and he wants to start running shit. Fucking communist, Antifa supporter. And then Peggy Flanagan, she wants to do something. And then who did you just say? Moriarty. She'll probably try to run for AG. So here's my point. Just look at what they're doing now, and what do they get out of it? Because it's not about us. So you can start, they're doing this so they can plot their next move 2 years from now. And when you can start doing that math, then you can start fucking being on the level where you can start diagnosing some conspiracies.
And it comes with the added bonus of
power.
Still creating a situation where you need law enforcement because if you're giving less time to offenders, you're going to have more repeat people back on the streets early, and therefore more crime.
Kill that side thing. What are you bringing up here? The X right in the top right corner, above the
where it says future, feeding our future. There you go.
Yeah. There you go. Leaked audio shows Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison vowing to support a group including now convicted defendants in fraud case. Yeah, this doesn't surprise me. I'm telling you right now, Keith Ellison is maybe the most corrupt politician in Minnesota history. This guy is an anarchist / communist / racist, and maybe the word. Dude, I'm telling you, Keith Ellison is
that position is.
You better hope the zombie apocalypse never happens, because I'm killing him on
that
site.
Position is known generally as one of the more corrupt positions to have too. So
I will never directly do violence unless the zombie apocalypse happens, and then I got a long list. Because once the zombie apocalypse happens, I know all the evil people.
Are you going to say you're going to create some future zombies?
No. They'll just be dead. No, there will be no starving to death. There will be no torture. It's just instant kills. It's Call of Duty level, like, nope, you're done. And trust me, there's some non-politicians on that list too. But you guys are safe until the zombie apocalypse happens. Yeah, that's Keith Ellison. That's exactly what I'm talking about, dude. That's him proudly. Now, when I saw this was in the heart of the riots, okay? I saw this happening in the heart of the riots. He held this up, took this picture, put it on Twitter, and said, "This is Trump's greatest fear. This is our new playbook." So when you tell me that Antifa isn't an organization, it's just an ideology. Ideologies don't print playbooks. Ideologies don't have elected politicians saying this is something that's going to make our president afraid. That statement is somebody who doesn't know what they're talking about. They have been propagandized. They have been radicalized.
Right.
And you know who exactly I'm talking. We're not naming names because I don't want to make people feel bad. But you know who the fuck. If you're watching this, you know who the fuck. I'm talking about you. And that's the thing. I just showed you right there. There's the picture. There's the fucking playbook. There's the reference. It happened. I'm not arguing about reality anymore. I will not be gaslit by this community. It's real. It's happening. These people are fucking crazy. They have severe selfish. And I'm not saying Trump's a good guy, but I'm not going to pretend for another moment that this version of the DNC is not lost their goddamn mind, dude.
Yeah, I don't think there's a limitation on what kind of shit they'll support in order to get where they need to get to. So
it's fucking crazy. Elon is a born organizer. What is this? Oh, this is a quote from Keith Ellison. Okay. Elon is a born organizer, a champion for the working class, and a fierce advocate for justice at home and abroad. What makes Elon stand out is that she does so much to deliver for her constituents and improve their lives, and also sees the big picture and works to create the larger structural change we need. She's bringing bold ideas and making real progress, and I'm proud to support her. Well, since she's been in charge, everything has gone to shit. So that guy's an idiot, and she's a terrible fucking politician.
yeah, and corrupt attorney generals can bog down all kinds of perfectly legal things by investigations and all that crap, that's a lot of stuff that goes on too in this state as well.
She's Minnesota's male Kamala Harris. By the stroke of a pen, I can ruin your life. That's Keith Ellison in chick form. Dude, it's so irritating, dude. And I still somehow have hope because it's like communism. Like, the reason I ultimately don't worry about it is because I don't think it's a sustainable model. I think ultimately the ideas we've already figured out have proven to be able to out-sustain them. They're just too easily defeated just through patience and logic.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's a thing that we constantly will have to relearn and refight over and over again. So,
seemingly until we go to war, and then we get about a 50-year grace period before it pops up again.
Maybe a generation or two might not see the next war or whatever, but eventually it's going to happen again.
Which is why I think my buddy might be right. I think ultimately we might end up with our own version of a fascist government, but with our principles. Because in order to defeat things like, Islamic extremism and wild versions of communism, and I don't know that we can just continue to have a truly open society.
You're going to have a strong figure going, we can't keep doing this over and over again, and then people are going to be like,
it'll come from the people. The people will be like, we're done. Like, and you already see it from a certain select group. Democracy
I don't know.
Can't be sustained.
Could be. But I think generally you could talk people into all kinds of bullshit.
I just talked out of both sides of my mouth. Just for the listeners, I'm aware. Like, I just talked out of both sides of my mouth, kind of on purpose. Like, I don't think those fascist communist governments are sustainable.
Mm-mm.
But ironically, I think the only way to beat them is we're going to have to get a little fascist and stamp out a few things. And then I think eventually we end up back where we're at. Because we had something that was working pretty well for most people.
Well, it's weird because when one president gets elected and then they can just throw away everything done by the previous administration, and then the next guy can come in and do the same thing. The next guy come in, you're going to end up with a situation where it's like, now we're just going to rule by executive order. That's what it seems like now. That's how we're going to do everything, is by executive order. And it's only going to get worse from here. Even when Trump's gone, guess what? The next guy's coming in and doing the same thing. Unless the only way they won't do that is if they can control the illusion that they're doing everything above board. Meaning, if they can control the Congress, they control the Senate, they can control and pass the bills legally, that's what they're going to do, just
Great
so
point.
that they get some kind of
integrity.
Yeah, and some deniability. The shit's
credibility.
Not
integrity. Credibility.
Because as long as it seems legitimate, then we will take more of it. You know what I
Right.
mean? I just
That's what I do like about the Doge thing. I think a lot of people have politicized this, and they think it's a government takeover, it's a private billionaire takeover. It's none of those things. It's literally installing modern day shit to create transparency. You want to draft $4 billion from this account? What is it for? It's for a CIA black book expense. Cool, put that. Just put that. Just do that on the purchase order. Cool, we'll do that. Okay, paid. We get it, but you don't just get to just do it for whatever you want. Like that can't happen anymore. Like it's what was the one that I just saw that I actually no, I didn't just see this. Was it Jason, look this up. USAID pays for, and then put in quotes, mass deception and propaganda, end quotes. Was it Reuters?
I don't know. They
It was one of these. Here's the point. It was literally one of these like credible online news sources. And it's literally in the purchase order. This is what this pays for. Mass propaganda and deception. And it was for the American people. It wasn't to go run ads in Iran. This is the shit I'm talking about. Jason, did you find it? Is your spelling slowing it down?
Well, I don't know if you're familiar with the attempt of Russia.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
What?
Do you know what I'm talking about with this?
No.
Okay. Keep going, and then we'll bring it up and come back to it in a few minutes when he brings it.
Are you familiar of the Russian attempt to support conservative media by backing them like through like secret companies?
No.
For instance, like not Rick Rubin, Dave Rubin.
How dare you put that evil on him, Ricky Bobby?
Dave Rubin and Tim Pool. You don't remember hearing anything about that?
No.
So the left kept saying, and you'll see this on like a Piers Morgan thing where it'll be like Tim Pool will be one of the guys in the four debating something, and then there'll be a leftist saying, "You're a shill for Russia because you took Russian money," blah 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 blah.
Oh,
right?
I do remember some of that. Okay.
So that's how that worked. So the same thing with the USAID would do is what we would do is if like let's say there's a country.
Were they taking Russian money?
Let me finish my part.
Okay.
So we would go to another country with the USAID stuff, and we would say, okay, there's 10 news stations in Georgia or whatever country.
Sure.
And we like what this news station is doing, so we're going to donate $5 million to that news agent. We're not telling them what to say or what to do or whatever.
Yep,
but we think that if we just put money into it, we can we could create a democratic message, right?
Yep.
So we're trying to influence it, not necessarily directly. We're just trying to seed.
We're going to
those
fund the people who are pro us.
Yeah. Or just pro-truth or pro whatever this narrative that we support, right?
Yeah.
So that's what Russia. That's what Russia was doing here. Was they would be like, okay, well, these people are they. It's not that they're spreading Russian propaganda, like, of course, the leftist likes to say. It's just that they weren't pro-Ukraine or they weren't for American involvement in the war and stuff, because some of us aren't. I'm not for involvement, American sending troops over there or funding the Ukrainians or any country, really, right? But they would fund Dave Rubin and all these different commentators that same way, where they would be like, well, here's $100,000 for this or whatever. And then they might air that somewhere or something. But so the FBI came in and said, hey, we got this Russian company doing this stuff, and then they investigated and said U.S., went to Tim Pool and all these other people say, hey, you're not suspected of being collaborators with Putin or doing anything like that, right? We just got this fake ass company fronting money, paying these conservatives to basically give them support so that their voices will be a little louder.
What?
Yeah. And that's what USAID literally does in these other countries. So it's like we're doing the same thing that these other countries are doing to us. But you'll still see this, it's just Russian propaganda. No, it's not Russian propaganda at all, actually. And Putin never told those people what to do for their money. Matter of fact, they didn't even know it was Russian money coming in.
They just amplified people. Dude, okay. So not only does this make sense, not only do I believe you, but Jason, did I or did I not say that dude Dave Smith?
Dave Smith is a shit.
Very well informed.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
But so much of what he says directly aligns with Russian propaganda that oftentimes I have questioned whether he is funded by or even planted by.
No.
Yeah, I don't agree. I don't agree. I think whether he knows it or not, a lot of what he says is influenced by or funded by some.
As a guy who watches Dave Smith almost daily, I can tell you that's bullshit.
He's very well informed. No, it's not bullshit. What I'm saying
he makes arguments.
Great arguments.
But
oftentimes they so closely align with Russian propaganda that I oftentimes suspect not just his sources, but I suspect
his you know who his sources are, right?
They're very much the
our
same.
Our own United States government. That's the sources.
It's not just our.
The net means
it's not just our government, and oftentimes they're the same sources that I have. We just interpret the same information different ways because we have different filters. Because I can tell you with pretty much certainty, guys like Dave Smith have never been in fear of their life. They've never been in those severe moments of conflict or war or battles or gunfights where they can dissect the information. Mm-hmm. They're very well informed, extremely intelligent people, but they've never been in it, so they don't know how to interpret it through the proper context lens.
I think we're getting into
we're getting to
logical fallacy department.
We're getting into the weeds, but here's my point. What I'm saying is his interpretation of the same data that I am looking at, the same event. So he sees it, I see it. We're both the same level of informed. His interpretation is so closely aligned with Russian propaganda so often that many times I question his credibility. I'm not saying he's wrong. I'm not saying he's stupid. I'm not saying he doesn't know what he's talking about.
You would literally have to point out an example to carry this conversation forward because like the things that I see that he brings up.
For example, the idea that Russia invaded Ukraine because NATO kept creeping into Ukraine. Okay, it's a logical fallacy because the prerequisite to joining NATO is there's actually several, but one of the major ones is you can't have any border disputes. Well, Ukraine had several border disputes, so they
used a logical fallacy. Though.
They were never gonna be able to. It doesn't matter what their constitution says that we want to join NATO. It doesn't matter because they never met NATO's criteria. NATO was never gonna let them into NATO until Russia invaded. Then it got put on the table.
No. I don't think that's true whatsoever.
You don't think so?
No.
Okay, I'm listening.
No, I think there's always been an invested interest.
There it is. Reuters $9 million contract with the U.S. Department, and then go down, and you'll do it off screen, but you'll find the quote in there, and you should be able to find the screenshot of the purchase order.
So if you look at Biden's head of CIA, his name escapes me for a minute, but he used to actually before then he used to be the ambassador to Russia before he was the CIA head under Biden. And the only reason why we know of these documents is because of people like Julian Assange who released these memos, the net memos, which talks exactly about this is the red line, the NATO thing. This is why they can't join NATO, because this is what's going to happen. Somewhere along the line, though, American interests started to change, and then we started to kind of creep that NATO idea into it. So I honestly believe multiple things can be true at the same time, that yes, Putin has some megalomaniac desire to create the Soviet Union and get all the land back to Mother Russia and blah, blah. I believe that that's partially.
Yeah, I do believe that's.
I think that's
too.
partially
He
true.
wants his face on the wall with Stalin and Lenin. That's because that's what he wants.
But I don't think he would just do that just on that. You giving him the pretense of NATO is a legitimate pretense for him, because any country, look at how America was mad about Cuba possibly having missiles from Russia. How each country will react to that situation.
That is true. That's a great point too.
And NATO is constantly surrounding Russia and Russia.
But to be fair, we never invaded Cuba.
Bay of Pigs was some kind of weird attempt to do some
You
kind
are
of covert
correct.
invasion.
You are correct in comparing Cuba to Ukraine. However, we did not Ukraine Cuba.
Here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. I'm not.
We peacefully walked that back.
Cuba? You mean the Cuban Missile Crisis thing? Yeah, for sure. Well, kind of. We
It
did
is
some
a
kind
perfect. It is a perfect
we did a
analogy,
lot
and
of
you are correct.
We did a
dude.
lot of shady things in Cuba. Poison,
Again,
food
again,
supplies, everything.
Again, you are correct, but we never Ukrained Cuba. It just didn't happen.
Doesn't. And to me, there's going to be some differences in similarities.
But you are correct.
But the whole thing is I do believe the invasion into Ukraine is NATO related. That doesn't mean that Putin doesn't have some desire to reinstate all this land back to Russia. Like that doesn't make that thing a lie. Angela Merkel wrote about this in a book decades before. All these people did, and they've been saying this the whole time, including the head of the CIA, Hunter Biden.
For the listeners that don't know what you're talking about, we did definitely. It is not a conspiracy. It is super obvious that we helped Ukraine overthrow their puppet government.
2014, yeah, and before.
And so again, so what happened in 2014 was Ukraine was a quote-unquote independent state, but it was really just a puppet government of Russia, just like Belarus.
A lot of corruption, yeah.
Just like Belarus. It was an installed fake election. This is an actual vassal kingdom, basically. This is Russia, but it's not officially Russia. And with the assistance of the U.S., the Ukrainian people overthrew that corrupt government and held an election. I don't know how democratic it was.
Mm-hmm.
Ironically, the most charismatic actor they had won. Who knows if that's real? He could just be that good of an actor and really compelled his people, He was pretty charismatic when the war started. He said, I don't need a ride, I need ammunition. It was pretty badass. It kind of inspired me at the beginning.
Yeah.
So like it could have been authentic that Zelensky just won, but he could also be, which we know America does, installed.
Mm-hmm.
So everything you're saying is true. The question is, did America do this as a preemptive move to get him into NATO, which I'm not willing to say yes to, but what I am willing to definitely say yes to is we wanted a true neutral border, its own, like if we could prop Ukraine up and create a buffer state, a real military power, a buffer state, back them up, keep Russia from re-entering Europe, and in doing that, we get some mineral rights. Right? Because it's always about that. It's always about securing American interests. We want some mineral rights, bro, because we seen what was coming. Again, the American government is not as stupid as we want to say they are. They're disorganized. They're a little clumsy sometimes.
Here's the thing.
But they're very foresight-oriented. And I think they know we're losing control of Africa because China's coming in there and they're taking over everything. Because we can't, in order to run Africa and get those resources out of there, you have to do unethical things. That's bad PR for America. So we've over the last 100 years, America has pulled out of Africa. China has filled that vacuum. So now we're losing all the resources for all your electric cars, for all your solar panels, all you green fucking liberals. We've lost all of that in Africa. So now we're going into South America, right?
China's there too.
And yeah, but we're gonna kick them out of South America. That's too close. Same thing with the Cuban Missile thing. It's too close. We're gonna secede, and we're gonna give them Africa. But trust me. I'm telling you right now. I know this. Inside baseball right now. We're gonna fucking make sure we control South America. And what we're trying to do is not give up all of Europe. So we're like, hey man, let's fucking hook up with Ukraine because, again, minerals, natural gas. Because I don't care what any of these fucking people say. Natural gas is the cheapest way to heat everything.
Now you go.
Natural gas is the cheapest, most efficient way to do it all.
But if you think about this, though, Jared.
Keep going.
So if you were a business,
did you forgot my name for a second?
No, I was trying to think of what I was going to say, anticipating that I wouldn't be able to say it. Okay. And again, see, that's what I mean. I get off track. If you're let's say your business is selling land, right? Everything is sold, already owned in a country, right? And now all of a sudden there's a new country. There's all that land in Ukraine. There's going to be invested companies interested in getting into that, so overthrowing the government. Now all this territory is opened up, all these mineral rights, all this. That's what all that shit is about, because the governments and corporations cannot help themselves from looking at new streams of revenue and all this crap. That's what they don't give a shit about the Ukrainian people.
No,
None of those people care about whether or not they're free or not.
Correct.
They saw a situation where they could create or win over Ukraine away from Russia, essentially, and manipulate that area. So, I mean, that's gonna create another incentive for them to join NATO. There's going to be those people who be like, hey, we want to protect our interests there. In order to protect our interests there, we need to have some military, blah, blah, blah. You know, they're going to want to have Ukraine join NATO.
Yep.
That Russia isn't stupid. They know they have an intelligence agency just like we do. They understand strategy. They're not morons. This doesn't mean I'm a Putin, a propagandist or whatever.
Or an apologist, right?
Multiple things can be true at the same time. And the whole Ukraine invasion, 100%, is
but they're not
take
doing
the NATO
it,
part
they're
out
not
of
doing it to liberate Russian Ukrainians either, though. They're doing it for the same thing. They want those resources. They want that choke point in the mountains.
Who's that?
Russia.
Yeah. Russia also.
They're not doing it for.
Russia also doesn't
defending their sovereignty.
And Russia also
it's about
does
resources, and it's about power, and it's about control.
Russia's not trying to save Ukraine.
Russia didn't invade Georgia or Jordan or any of those other fucking nations because they were suddenly going to join NATO. No, they weren't. They were never going to do it. You invaded them because you wanted control of the region so you could build strategic resources, so you could have an outpost, so you could access gas.
Right, but
it's
NATO.
The same thing we're doing.
But the NATO thing is people want to dismiss that NATO part. Ukraine joining NATO was not a part of that incentive to go there. No fucking country wants missiles pointed at them. You want to be Iran and completely surrounded by U.S. bases and be like, oh, it just, nobody wants that. None of these countries want that shit. And that's where we're going. We're literally putting missiles closer and closer and closer to our enemy.
And they're trying to do it to us.
And they're gonna try to step the fuck back and say, no, let's not do that. We honestly, like, I feel a lot of what Russia's done, I don't think it's because Putin's a genius or a strategist. Like when Barack was president, it seemed like Putin was always having a laugh against Barack or Obama because, it seemed like Russia was always winning these situations in these other countries when it came to competing with American interests. And it's like Russia's winning because their hand is being forced to do what they're doing. It's just we're being stupid about the shit we're doing. I don't know how to describe it any better than that.
I still don't completely agree with that motive. I think Russia does nothing more than seize opportunity, because I don't think Russia really cares about America or NATO or about China or about anybody else. I think Russia, and I got this, this is not my own idea. This is from my homie Kevin. I believe Russia only cares about Russia. They would let the world burn if Russia could stay alive. They don't give a fuck.
And
like, no, I'm not
mean,
saying
yeah,
it's a bad thing. I'm not saying it's a good thing. I'm just saying I think that's simply their motivation. Because again, they didn't take Georgia or Jordan or any of those surrounding nations simply because they were worried about America. No, they don't do that. They see an opportunity. They think something is in their strategic interest. If they can take it, they're going to do it. That's what they do. It's the same thing with China. It's the same thing with all of those nations over there.
Yep, but you got to realize that even when you go back and even look at the Georgian situation and you look at the shit that we are trying to pull in with the CIA and the stuff in that country, we are there at every step of the fashion in the way, provoking these situations to happen. I just to sit there and
I don't know, man.
You can Google it. I've been right on the shit that I say.
No,
you know,
I think you're right on pretty much everything you say. I just don't know about this idea that like we're provoking it. I think these are extensions. How does it not? Because I think
how does it not provoke?
Well, because I think these are all direct extensions of the Cold War that is simply warming back up. Like, I don't believe that I'm one of those people that doesn't believe World War II ever ended. It just went cold. So you look at anything from Korea to Vietnam to the Middle East, everything is just literally about fighting democracy and capitalism versus communism. And then it got a lot more muddied when both sides started fucking with the Middle East. Right? So when you have Russia funding Iran, and then you have America coming in and funding Saudi Arabia and Israel, and then all of a sudden there's religion involved, right? And there's multiple religions involved, and there's sects within the religions that are involved. Then now we don't even know. But honestly, we can still truly trace this back to this is nothing more than the end of World War II and the Cold War simply heating back up. It really still is that simple. Now, it's very muddied, but it's very gray is what I'm saying. But we're still only arguing about black and white. There is no greens here. There is no reds. You see what I'm saying? There's not even primary colors. We're only dealing with black, white, and gray. That's what I'm saying. And so I don't think it's as simple as American aggression and American imperialism, because we're not the only ones who have been trying to expand and gain influence. Russia and China have been doing the same fucking thing for 50 years. And they're also committing actual genocides and slaveries while they're doing it.
Yeah, but I think if you look at...
you're not wrong,
but if you look at China and Russia,
simple.
we kind of forced them to become bedfellows, too, because of the shit that we do. Because who's trying to control gas lines from the Middle East into Europe? Who's trying to control all that stuff? You don't think that Russia has just as much claim to a gas line from the Middle East as the United States does?
I don't think Europe? Any of us have any rights to it. It's theirs.
I'm just saying, but that's exactly what's happening. But can't these countries also make deals with other countries as well?
Well, I mean, no, that's what I'm saying is like Russia doesn't buy or sell a lot of oil from the Middle East. Russia,
not oil, but natural gas, and
they sell it all to Europe. They sell their own shit to Europe.
Yep, and you don't think that they had in some incentive to control pipelines out of the Middle East as well, as just as much as we do? Russia isn't in. What do you think Russia is in Iran for? Or why would you think that they would back
to oppose American
wealth? Just to oppose American wealth. That seems oversimplified. There's way more interest. There's way more strategic interest in all of that stuff. And if you got America coming over the ocean, trying to control absolutely everything, that's got you completely.
The question is, why are we involved in the Middle East?
We've been, because of decisions that we've made in the past to support corporations
I think it's way
and
more
all
simple
this
than
stuff.
that.
Like,
I think it's way more simple than that. I think it's very, very direct. I think it's fossil fuels are finite,
mm-hmm.
and we're going to use everybody else's resources first.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
I think we have a lot of oil here under this continent, and we have a lot of reserves, and we're going to use all the Middle East oil first. And then we're going to let the rest of the world depend on Russian oil and Chinese oil.
I don't think there's.
And then we have our own.
I don't think America, the people who run America, are that like, oh, we're gonna make sure that America is the only country left. The people that control shit really don't even care about borders anymore. They don't care about. They care about profits and making money. They want to control oil to control oil. That's why they want it, for the finances part of it.
Well, yeah, I mean, we definitely want to control it, but I think the idea of us getting involved in using Saudi oil when we have enough to last us another 150 years, even if we use it at max cap right now, we could still run 150 years on our own supply. Why wouldn't we do that? Well, the idea is we deplete them, we run them out of oil, and then we still have enough to last another 150 years. That's what I would do.
I mean, to me,
that's what I would do if I were the mastermind behind the scenes.
But there's so many more interests.
And not only do we do that, but we get them all to use our dollar while they do it.
There's so many more interests, so many that would contradict that too as well. Like there's a reason why we give the Saudis all this money. We have other interests is why we're over there. It's not just for oil. It's not just for whatever. There's strategic purposes for all this stuff.
But what would those be other than resources?
I don't believe it's so that we will be the last people with the oil. I don't think that. I don't think anybody in the U.S. government cares enough about America to think that way. Honestly, like who would that be? The deep state cares like that. They don't give a fuck about any of that kind of stuff. They will sell us out to China if they could, and they have actually. I mean, how long have we let China just get all of our free Harvard studies and, be involved in everything, buy our land, do all this stuff? Like if we had a strategic interest to be the last country standing, we wouldn't be doing any of that stupid shit. I just don't think that I think China's more likely to be that forward thinking and have a more what's the word for it? A singular vision on how to handle China's future, to where I think America is just, we rotate these guys in and out with we leave some of the deep state people in to kind of just, and then we just perpetuate the same fucking game where we're making money and destroying rights and exploiting other countries because we are imperial. But I don't think our interest is purely in America's interest.
Yeah,
because we've sold uranium out of this country. We'll sell water out of this country. We will sell anything you can think of out of this country before we ever fucking, I don't know, make the right decision for America. That's why it's so a big deal when somebody does want to create a pipeline in this country. I don't know.
Well, it definitely seems like that's true if we're talking about the DNC. They don't give a fuck.
I just feel like even the neocons and all that stuff, I don't really think
fuck the neocons, dude. Fuck the Bush neocons, dude. Like, the neocons are the worst. They're not, because will you look this up, Jason? Because I keep doing this, dude. Yeah. What does neo mean? Like, when they say neoliberal, neocon, I think it means not really.
I mean, it's the new... Well, the neocons used to refer to themselves as neocons, but now it's become a slur, essentially.
But I think it also really just means not really. Like, they're not really conservatives.
Neo is new, so new conservatives, the new vision, the new conservatives with a different vision, basically, or the new neoliberals. Is a play on that because they're the war-supporting liberals. It's got a stink to it now, and so I don't think they call themselves the neoliberals, but...
Yeah, so what does neo mean? Because if it just means new,
Yeah.
that means nothing. Neoconservative views. Okay, so click on neoconservative. Relating to or denoting a return to modified form and fuck you guys. Nothing about the neoconservative movement is traditional Republican views.
I call bullshit.
It's total bullshit. The neoconservative movement was super pro-war, super big government.
Correct. Yep.
Super government spending, super government bailout. Like the
Big
neoconservative,
brother, yep.
the neoconservative movement was the opposite of Republican or conservative.
Yep.
Like it was like that's why I kept saying neoconservatism is not really conservatism. So this is propaganda. This is Google being full of shit. Who put this data into Google? That's what I want to know. Because that is not neoconservatism. Neoconservatism is the opposite of conservatism. Everything Bush and the Cheney administration did is the opposite of what Republican conservatism was. They expanded the government. They were super pro-war. They bailed out the banks. They fucking alienated individual civil rights. Like, they made an entire generation, including me and you, specifically hate the Republican Party. Like, that is not the Republican Party I'm in. I am not in, because I'm super liberal still. I'm still pro-gay rights. I'm still pro-women's rights. I'm still pro-trans rights. I'm still pro-all the rights. But I'm a Republican because the Democrats are willing to alienate everyone's rights to go with whatever's trendy right now.
Mm-hmm.
That's the problem. That's why I'm still a liberal, but I'm currently Republican. I'm a liberal Republican. And honestly, people on the left cannot wrap their head around that. But basically what it means is I'm the same dude I was 20 years ago. I'm just not voting for
those
that
people
group
can't
anymore.
wrap their head around you having a single disagreement with them. If you don't step if you're not in lockstep with them, they cannot understand.
Yep. As
Not all of them,
soon
but
as
there's
trans
quite a-
rights circumvent or alienate women's rights, now we have a boundary issue. We're going to separate those two. Nope, sorry. I know you're a man and you identify as a woman, but we have Title IX and women have a protected space in the sports world. So sorry, we're not going to cross that line. I believe in trans rights, but children do not have rights. I believe in parental rights. So if a child says he's a boy, but he's born a girl, I don't believe that the state should be able to take custody of that child and alienate those parental rights and administer gender-affirming health care, including chemical or surgical transitionary care to align that child's gender with their gender identity. So when one group of rights alienate another, that I draw that line. That is not a conservative. Well, I guess that is a conservative principle, even though I'm still liberal in my pro-trans, you know what I mean? You see what I'm saying?
Well,
I don't think most people can wrap their head
the
around
logic
that
has to
nuance.
reconcile for people who want to understand things. We understand things using logic, and it has to reconcile, and that's why we can't have two different sets of rights intersecting or contradicting each other. And
One has to supersede the other.
right. Otherwise, nothing means anything anymore. You have to have some logic. Otherwise, there's no foundation, and no society is going to survive without some kind of foundation or some understood logic that we all kind of agree on. So, yeah, I agree with you on that. I don't give a shit what people do with their own personal lives and stuff like that. But
Yeah, once you're an adult, do whatever you want. But
Yep.
I don't agree with a child being able to go to the government and dictate what happens, because we don't allow children to have tattoos, we don't allow children to vote, we don't allow children to smoke, we don't allow children to drink. These are far less life-altering decisions than taking hormones or having surgery on your body. I mean, if I give a kid too much sugar during puberty, I can fuck their whole life up.
Yep.
Why are we talking about changing the hormones we add into their bodies? We can just give them more testosterone, and we think that's just, you can just stop that? It's reversible? Are you insane? Like I said, if I just give a kid too much sugar during puberty, I can permanently alter their life trajectory. And you think but estrogen and testosterone, those are just inconsequential? What the fuck are we talking about, dude?
Well, they say things like that because they need it to be true in order to justify their arguments. They need that part to be true.
I will die on this hill. I will not vote for the DNC as long as they support gender-affirming health care for children. This is an absolute line in the sand. It's not a gray area for me. This was the moment. There's a couple others, but this is the big one for me. I'm trying to have a kid. I'm not trying to have the government or anybody else tell me I don't know what's best for my child. The most important thing that I could ever do in my life is raise a kid. And I'm not going to accept that anyone else knows what's best for my kid other than me.
I don't know. There's probably some leftists that disagrees with you.
And then they're mentally
it's
ill.
It's child abuse to raise a kid with traditional values.
Then that's a mentally ill person who shouldn't be taken seriously. I respect your ability to vote, but I do not respect your opinion. If you think my 12-year-old knows what's best for them, you're stupid. And I'm unapologetic in that statement. You're a fucking moron. You should not have a political opinion. Fortunately, you do, and I respect that, because guess what? Protected under the Constitution, homeboy. But like it kind of ends there. Like, I will go to war over this. I will go to the war with the government if you take my kid from me. Like, that's some William Wallace level shit right there. Like, you want to turn me into an extremist? Take my kid from me. Turn my son into a girl.
Have you seen
against my will, and watch how fast I turn into William Wallace.
Have you seen any talk? Have you seen any of this? The talk on this stuff kind of die down. Like, to me, it doesn't seem as prevalent as before.
Well, it's trending the opposite way, but yeah.
Right. Yeah. And with this last election, and then everybody's focused in on every latest thing that Doge does.
Exactly. It's all fads.
So,
it'll come up again.
Yeah, it'll come up again, just like gun control and all this stuff. And the latest thing is the Trump getting gifted some kind of airplane from Qatar.
Yeah, what's going on with this, you guys? I know nothing about this. Pull this up. I want you to talk about this.
I don't know anything about it.
Set the stage. Yeah. Set the stage, because I got to piss again. While you set the stage,
I can't set the stage. I don't know anything about it.
Do what you just did. Ask the question, set the stage. Something happened. I'm going to piss. You pull it up in the background. You guys rap together. I'll be right back. Because, yeah, I know nothing about this. Apparently, there's an airplane. That's all I fucking know. And it's ridiculous. It sounds super shady, but I'm also probably hearing left-wing propaganda.
Well, I think it's funny because it's a gift from another country or whatever, Qatar. And people pretend like these countries don't, these governments, these countries don't give us money all the time. Trump administration poised to accept Palace in the Sky as a gift for Trump from Qatar. I personally don't think that this stuff is ever a good idea to have a president flying around on a foreign jet. Because think about if somebody really wanted to Trojan horse something and have something happen to them, then that's the way you would do it.
Right, even with Air Force One being 34 years old, the whole thing is. order a new Air Force One, we spend how many trillions of dollars a year? Pretty sure we can afford to just spend a couple $1 million to replace it.
Exactly.
Yeah, and this is just a story. It tells me that the news cycle is so slow that the guitar is making major headlines. That tells me that they're hold up ABC.
I think it looks terrible.
Oh, it absolutely does.
You know, it's so out of touch. You get this flying, awesome-ass thing that's just given to... You know, it's reeks of richness and out-of-touchness and all this stuff, and it's just not a good look.
I agree. And that speaks to the aristocrat nature. The Trumps.
Do I think that we are...
All right, so
do I think that we are compromised for Qatar?
okay, I remembered something while I was in the other room. Will you do me a favor? This is going to seem super weird. Will you Google search for me in the background, please? It's an episode of the show Madam Secretary with Tia Leone. And it's an episode where, so it's type something to this degree. Madam Secretary TV show, gifts or endowments from foreign governments. They did an entire scene in this TV show. And it was so compelling, this scene, that I was like, is that fucking true? Now, either I dreamed this whole thing or I did this research and what I'm about to say is true. I was taken aback, and I feel like I did some quick research into this. And we get gifts from foreign governments all the time, and it's uncouth to deny them. So we accept them, quote unquote, for the listeners who can't see my hands right now, quote unquote, we accept them, but they just go into a vault and they're never used or touched or accepted or used in any way, shape, or form. Madam Secretary, she played, frequently receives gifts from foreign countries, often raising diplomatic and political questions. Is the horse gifted from Mongolia, which she considers returning, causing further controversy when she learns it could be killed if it's sent back. See if you can go into videos and search this in the background, because she does a whole speech on it where I can't deny this. Even though it's a dictator, if I do this, it's incredibly insulting and causes backlash. So,
well,
search it in the background and see if you can find, because that actually does look like it's it, but it might, gift horse in the mouth, it might be that episode. But see if you can find a quick short of it so we don't get flagged.
That is a good example of, like, say, a horse. You got
it's even literally
prince.
written into TV shows is my point.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure this is a thing that happens all the time. And that's all I'm getting. I'm not defending Trump.
Yep.
It does seem shady, but especially when he goes, what do you want me to do? Pay for it? You know, that was his response to it. What do you want me to do? Pay him $400 million or $1 billion, or whatever it is? What am I supposed to do? Like, yeah, see if you can find this in the background, because I'm not sure accepting the gift means anything. Because I'm pretty sure, according to this TV show, and I'm pretty sure I did the research, that we have like a vault where we take all these gifts and we put, because we don't know if they're bugs, surveillance. You know what I mean? We're not stupid, you guys. Yeah. We joke that the American government is stupid. We're not fucking stupid. We're the greatest superpower that the world has ever seen. Like, stop. Like, I get it. It's super trendy to be like, we're so stupid. We're so arrogant. We also do a lot of fucking shit the best the world has ever seen, including stuff like this. Yeah, take the gift. Guess what? Put it in the hangar where no one's allowed to go in, because we know they're going to fucking bug that airplane.
I mean, it just makes sense.
We're not dumb.
Go back to medieval times.
Thank you for the plane.
You don't think when one king went and visited another king, he showed up with gifts?
With the dowry?
He just showed up with gifts or whatever. I mean, that just what people have done. So I mean, this is probably just a continuation of all that crap, but it
Yeah,
doesn't.
we're gonna kiss your ass. Cool. We'll take your plane. Put it
doesn't
over in
look
the hangar.
good.
We're not using it.
It doesn't look good though.
Can we get
But
it? No, it doesn't.
It's a
look
stupid
good.
news story though. It really.
That's kind of where I'm leaning.
And if you look at like Qatar,
It seems like a nothing burger.
Qatar gives money to campaigns. It gives money to media. It does all kinds of things that influence this country. By the way, and it's not just Qatar, but other countries as well.
That was the other crazy thing about that USAID shit is how much they're funding terrorist groups. And what was the agency that deleted a terabyte of data?
I don't remember.
Look this up, Jason, while you're looking that other thing. Pull this up. Because that Madam Secretary scene is just kind of entertainment. It's not proof. But I do vaguely remember seeing that and doing a bunch of research, and like other people can go down that rabbit hole now that we've planted that seed. Yeah, we could, well, okay, we'll play that in a little bit because it'll just add context. Because she gives a really compelling speech, which was like, holy fuck, like that makes sense. The way she describes it, the way it was written in that TV show, and like I said, I'm pretty sure I was like, holy fuck, is that real? That's how compelling it was. I was like, God damn, is that fucking real? And I did a quick little. And I was like, yep, according to this and this and this, that's exactly what we do. We put that shit in a little vault. We take the gift, because that's what you do. Denying a gift is an insult, right? And you don't want to insult anybody, especially your enemies, right? So you take the gift, and then it just goes into a vault, and we don't do anything with it. It doesn't mean Trump is a shill. But what did I ask you to look up? Oh, yeah. So Doge audit, and then some agency deleted a terabyte of data, 1 TB of data. And I just want to know who it was. Now, we recovered the data, 99.9% of the data, because these fucking idiot boomers don't know how to clear a hard drive properly. So we got it all back, but the level of shadiness that we uncovered immediately, like, we were directly funding Al-Qaeda, the Taliban. It's exactly what you were talking about with the Mossad. We're propping up these. Institute of Peace. That's exactly who I'm talking about. So they came in and did an audit on these guys, and they deleted, knowing they were going to be audited, deleted a terabyte of data. Now I'm going to let the listeners do this on the side. You can deep dive this, you guys. There's interviews where these guys have had to testify in front of the government and do meetings on camera and shit. And they describe exactly what they're talking about and what happened. And basically, the Institute of Peace has been funding the actual terrorist organizations that have been attacking us. And then when we audited that group, they deleted the data.
It's the oldest thing.
Like, charges need to be brought up.
It's the oldest trick in the book.
They need to be brought up on charges.
Yeah, I agree.
But Elon Musk is evil.
Why? Yeah.
Because he's autistic and doesn't know how to fucking say my heart goes out to you all. Because he's an idiot. He's a smart person, but socially, he's a fucking moron. Like, we did that podcast where I was like, because people are like, oh, he's this. And I'm like, listen, man, play any video of him celebrating. And we pulled one up. Jason, pull this up. Just video Elon Musk celebrating. Anything. Any video of Elon Musk celebrating. This is the most awkward, uncharismatic. He does not know how to move his arms or his hands. He doesn't know how to look left to right without looking like a fucking robot. And to judge this guy and call him a Nazi is one of the most insensitive, crazy things you could do to a genius person who has an actual, like, autistic spectrum trait. You know what I mean? Like, it just proves the left isn't tolerant. They're not accepting.
We knew that.
Well, we know that.
Yeah.
You find it, Jason? Yeah, pull it up. Just any video of himself. Yeah, look how weird this fucking dude looks. Like, Every movement, the shoulders, the elbows, his head, his neck. This is a super uncharismatic person looking like a fucking weirdo. And then when he goes, my heart goes out to you all. What I did is I open palmed it because I'm not a fucking autistic social retard. You know what I mean? But he went open palm down. And now suddenly it looks like this is the same guy who wore a yarmulke, went to Israel, and signed documents defending the rights of Jewish people.
Yep.
And you're going to call him a racist and a Nazi? You're a retard. You're a fucking actual retard. You're a dumb person, and no one should ever take you seriously on anything ever going forward again. It's that simple. And I will die on this fucking hill, and I don't care if you like me or not. I don't care if you want to book my band or not. The truth needs to be said, and you're all fucking losing your minds. And I'll fucking die on this hill. I don't give a fuck.
The left has lost their ability to control who can play and do what now, so it ain't coming back anytime soon.
According to the left, everyone is evil. It just depends on the day.
On the day?
Yeah, you can be a bad guy tomorrow.
Oh, I mean,
we just have to decide that what you're doing tomorrow is bad. And then you're the bad guy.
Yep.
It just depends on the day. It just depends on where the wind shifts. There's no code. There's no line of principles. There's no way I can predict what you're going to be offended by tomorrow. It's the only reason I respect the conservatives. They have a very defined code. They're either religious or they're constitutional, right? And I can hold them accountable to their beliefs. And that's why I change their minds all the time. That's why they're the reasonable people in the room. The left is a bunch of fucking, I hate to say it, but they're basically schizophrenic. Their personality, their views, their opinion of reality shifts with the wind.
What do you think about all the weird Pete Hegseth signal chat, leaked information stuff that's happened? What do you think about that?
You know,
it seems like a nothing burger to me, but
that's kind of where I'm leaning with it. It seems like a gaffe. I read the signal chat. I don't see any actual national security information in there. You know, it's a chat. It's a debate. You know, the question I have is, why do they use Signal? Why do they not have their own app? That's my only question. Why are they using?
Well, the thing is, I think that the previous administration also used Signal too. So, like, I think that that's just what they've been doing.
Fine, but why do they not have their own?
I don't know why.
It seems silly.
Yeah, no, I think it's a way for them to skirt around, government to skirt around anything that they would have to turn over as public record.
I will say, though, the explanation of how it happened, I'm on Signal. And
I've never used it before. I don't know anything about it.
So when I add you would just show up as JC. Like, that's just how it shows up. So if I have another dude with your initials, you both show up as JC. If I texted you most recently, just like your regular cell phone, right? Like, it can quickly become, oh, I accidentally threw the wrong person in the chat. Totally plausible. So this idea that it should have never happened, well, the only reason it should have never happened is they probably shouldn't have been doing it in Signal altogether.
Correct. Yeah.
But this idea that he tagged the wrong person is such an idiotic move. The only idiotic move is the fact that you used an app that could happen in. That's my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm in that app. I use that app. It's a super easy mistake to make. Huge fuck up. People can't wrap their head around that difference. It's not that easy to make. You have to be invited to Signal. Yeah, you do have to be invited to Signal. But that doesn't mean...
But all those motherfuckers are already using it, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. That doesn't mean I can't accidentally throw you on a... Shut up! Like, these are hollow... What do you call them? A logical fallacy?
Yeah.
Like, these aren't plausible arguments. They're not rational... Like, yeah, he fucked up. But he did not compromise national security. Even if things that happened in that chat ended up happening in real life, if it's not labeled confidential, it's not a compromise of national security. Again, we're talking about laws and legal definitions.
I think they should be able to communicate to each other as friends on Signal, but they shouldn't be conducting business on. The reason
So
why
they should have their own thing.
the reason why is because we need those records for whatever reason.
For public dissemination.
Right, and if there does need to be an investigation or something,
Okay, I never thought about it like that. I think
you should be able to subpoena or get a FOIA and get that information or whatever.
Right, and if it's encrypted, we can never get that info.
This is an old game though, because people have set up their own servers in their bathrooms, and people not only that, but if you
Hillary Clinton,
people like to say that there was no controversy in the Obama administration, but one of the things they were doing to get around the Freedom of Information Act is they created fake aliases and email addresses so that they could talk to each other without actually being Barack Obama, Sheila Jackson, though they had different pseudonyms or whatever to aliases to discuss business so that it couldn't be tracked back to them.
That idea that there was no controversies is insane as well, because
yep.
he murdered an American citizen without due process. So again, I don't want to hear about due process from the left right now. Because you didn't say shit when Obama drone bombed an American citizen.
And later his kid.
And then Trump also offed his sister. That's why I'm not a Trump guy. I voted for Trump, but I'm not a Trump guy. I just happen to be on this side of the fence right now.
Yeah, I don't. That's not a hill I'll die on. I don't like Anwar al-Awlaki. See, the reason why I think killing him was a bad thing was because you could prove more U.S. government involvement because of Anwar al-Awlaki. Because that motherfucker was here in the United States meeting with top brass people and all that stuff. There's records of this stuff happening. And then all of a sudden he's number 3 of Al-Qaeda? How is he number 3 of Al-Qaeda?
Well, I don't know.
But
if
he's
it's
meeting
true.
with top brass in the United States.
So I don't know if this is true, but the official story. Well, I don't even know if this is the official story. This is what I got from the people that I trust and listen to, and some of these people I'm specifically able to ask questions to. Some of them are just talking heads, but I got a couple sources, good sources, reliable sources. Is why I know so much about so much random shit all the time. I'm good at getting sources. And basically what I disseminated was that he was originally a spy that flipped. So he was with us, and then he turned. So he went from meeting with top brass to being a top 3 threat overnight. And if you think about it that way, I get it. Doesn't mean he doesn't deserve due process, but I totally understand how you go from being our guy or a guy to being a top-level enemy. Not saying it's true, but that's what I disseminated their motivation was.
And you can also understand the skepticism on that part, too.
Totally,
because
of course, dog.
We get rid of Osama bin Laden was a CIA asset to begin with. The first one.
Correct, and then became a top enemy. Yep. Exactly.
So,
and it's probably because if you deep dive the Osama bin Laden thing, we recruited him, we fucked him, he turned on us, we turned on him. He may or may not have committed 9/11. That part is very ambiguous.
I think he was involved in 9/11. Yeah.
I think he liked that it happened. I'm not willing.
Well, he definitely, it's hard to say.
He might have even taken credit for it afterwards, but
he wrote letters.
There's very little actual credible evidence that directly connects him. Not only is it circumstantial, but it's a hop, skip, and a jump. There's way more credible evidence that it was people involved with the Saudi.
It's Saudis.
Way more credible evidence points to the Saudi government than it does Osama bin Laden. The very little tangible evidence actually shows, but he did eventually take credit of it.
But they are
credit
Saudis
for it.
So
yeah, you might be right about that. Yeah,
the Osama family, aren't they Saudi? A Saudi family?
I think they worked in Saudi. I don't think they are Saudi. I think they worked in that country for a long time.
They were massive real estate contractors and
Right,
builders.
but
and
I
stuff
think
like
it's
that.
basically the equivalent of like being Mexican and then working in America for 30 years and then going back to Mexico and then moving to El Salvador.
You could be right. You could be right, but I
Like,
think there are some
Calling
serious
them
high
American
dollar.
is
Yeah.
calling them American is a stretch in that analogy, and I think that's kind of what we've done by calling them Saudi. I may be wrong on that. I very well may be, because this single subject deserves its own 4 to 12-hour deep dive. Just is Osama bin Laden? We're not getting that on a quick Google search. Yeah, I don't believe any of this AI overview shit when it comes to these kind of complex issues. But yeah, he emigrated to Saudi Arabia. Okay. Yeah. So that's what I thought was true. But again, that might not be true. He might actually be Saudi.
But that would still explain.
It would explain
a
the
Saudi
connection.
connection.
Yeah, you spend 30 years in a country.
Yeah. You're
going to develop some fucking connections. So you might be right.
I do think that he was involved. I do think that we let it happen. That's my part.
I think we
on
opened the door. Yeah.
I think we let it happen.
I don't think it was a true false flag. Because a true false flag means we
I don't think those
were.
I don't think those were drone aircrafts flown into the buildings.
They might be, but I don't know that I believe that. But it is plausible.
I don't believe that the buildings came down the way they're supposed to come down. That way. I don't. That's one of the weird.
That's the biggest suspicion.
The weirdness is that 3 buildings fell in their footprint.
Especially when the engineers talk about we specifically designed these buildings to be able to withstand an aircraft and not collapse.
Yeah, because if you watch the original documentary, of the making of them,
it was a marvel of modern engineering.
They did talk about being able to withstand that.
Specifically aircraft going
and
into
I
them.
could buy that jet fuel weakened all the steel beams and whatever. I can buy that. I just don't see it in enough, and that would collapse at most free fall speed. I don't see that. That's not a possible thing.
Exactly.
And if you look at the 2 buildings, they were not hit the exact same way by the planes. One was a really good direct hit, and the other one was kind of at an angle off on the corner.
So it should have just fallen over.
So you should have at least had 2 different types of results.
Correct.
Come from that, whether or not they fall to the side or to whatever, you should still have 2 different kind of results. And not only that, but you have 3 buildings that fell into their footprint.
Yep.
So,
and one of them wasn't hit by
a plane, right?
A plane at all.
Yeah,
it was hit by a pillar of a building,
corner of it,
several blocks away, and magically hit generators and ignited them that were.
And finding the
passports,
finding the passports of the hijackers in the streets,
unsinged.
Yeah, well, I mean, there was a little bit of doctored up, but still, like, it was readable enough, and
but the black boxes didn't survive.
Oh, it took them forever to find them. I think they did find them.
But they didn't survive.
Oh, I don't know.
There's no data recoverable, but all the passports, we got those. Like, wait, what?
Well, I don't know if they got all the passports, but they got at least
14 out of 16.
I don't know what they were,
like that.
But they found passports. They knew who they had. Those faces. They had the faces on the news within the day. I kind of call bullshit on some of that stuff. Like I think this was allowed to happen.
I agree.
And I don't think it's a far-fetched idea that governments would allow their own citizens to get attacked
I will tell you, though, I do have a dude who I trust immensely who ran that flight, that turn that they made to hit the World Trade Center. And he goes, I was in the Air Force. I tried it 100 times. I never once made it. So the idea that the drones were involved is more than slightly credible.
Well, the technology existed.
Not only did it exist, but some people that I believe to be highly credible have said very good pilots cannot make that turn and approach. Specifically, the one they're talking about is the one to the Pentagon. Like that is the most suspect of the 3. The angle, the speed, not hitting the ground, not leaving any damage on the landscape before making impact into the building. It's
and
not probable.
And the refusal of the U.S. government to actually show real proof.
It's less than likely, is what my buddy. What he actually said was, because he's a very calculated person, even way more than me. I run my mouth a lot. He said it's less than likely that an average pilot could do that, let alone the people they alleged with their level of training. Because he goes, we're very good pilots, and I did it 100 times personally, and I never once did it. Not fucking once. And he goes, I worked for the Air Force, dude. Like, I flew planes. And he's very cryptic about what he did, so he did some high-level shit. You know, he can't even tell me what he did, but he goes, I was a pilot.
Yeah, see,
so he was a good pilot is the point.
I can't say, so I stay away from that part of it. It just seems weird that there'd be so little proof that anything like that happened. You know what I mean? Like, where's the fucking plane, dude?
Yeah.
Where's the plane?
Yeah.
So,
show me another plane that can crash into pure concrete and leave no wing marks.
Yeah.
Like, just show me one. Just one. Just show me one. Just show me a simulation.
Or a situation where you literally can, like, claim that there's not a single piece that couldn't be picked up by a single person.
You know why the American government is so obsessed with AI? They're not worried about winning a war against China or Japan or Russia. They don't want us to create simulations of fucking the Pentagon.
Yeah, no shit. Yeah.
Hey, ChatGPT, show me a plane crashing into the Pentagon. What would that look like?
Yep.
And there's like wing marks and engines and fucking debris everywhere. Yep. Compare that to the original.
Or even with the, what was that, Flight 93, where there's like 2 crash sites, you know?
My buddy, who's in the Navy, he was in Navy intelligence. And I go, what do you think about 9/11? And he goes, I can't say much. But if you want to figure out, I don't remember exactly how he phrased it, but he goes, look at the Pentagon in Shanksville. Don't worry about 9/11. Mm-hmm. Don't worry about the Twin Towers.
Yep.
He goes, look at Shanksville and look at the Pentagon. And I go, what do you mean by that? And he goes, look at Shanksville and look at the Pentagon. And that's all he kept saying over and over again. And this dude was literally naval intelligence. So he has actual things he can and cannot say out of fear of going to prison. And he just kept going, look at Shanksville and the Pentagon. Look at Shanksville and the Pentagon.
There were reporters literally.
So he knows something, and he couldn't tell me, but he was trying to tell me.
Right. There were literal reporters saying, where's the planes? Where's the plane? Where's the, you know? So I do believe that was shot down. I think we shot down Flight 93.
Oh, 100%, yeah.
But
it happened.
But we don't want to tell the American people that we shot down.
No, we vaporized that plane.
We shot that plane down.
We shot that plane down and then shot the debris down as it was landing and then made a hole in the dirt. This is my opinion. Then we made a hole in the dirt and threw a bunch of shit in there. And then sanctioned off the area, and then said it was a plane crash.
Because we know for a fact we scrambled jets. We've had the pilots on interviews saying they were scrambled to do it. I just think that there was it's a terrible thing to have to do is to shoot down your own plane.
So here's the question: where was that plane going? If we're gonna let a plane hit the 2 World Trade Centers,
I've heard,
and then we're gonna let the Pentagon get hit. Where was that 4th one headed?
I've heard that it was going to go to another tower,
White House?
Or
the White House.
I've heard the White House. I've heard Camp David. I've heard
something significantly more important than everything else.
Yeah.
And not only was the target more important, but the path was important.
But here's
so we can't even let you know where they were going.
But see, that was also the flight that actually was kind of running into not reaching its destination too, because the people had fought back. So if you really want to be conspiratorial, you can't have survivors telling stories.
Oh, you know what that tells me? See, here's where my brain goes with it. That goes back to the drone idea. Because what you can't have is a group of people taking over a plane, getting to the cockpit and realizing there is no pilot. That's why you shoot that plane down.
It could be.
Because if it's not going to reach its plane, if its destination, if it's running out of gas, right? If it's off trajectory, right? You can get those people online. You could even fucking talk them into jihading themselves to save the rest of the country.
Yep.
Hey, man, we're not going to be able to save you. You got to take this down in the middle of the field and kill yourselves. Either that or you're going to kill 100,000 people because you're headed towards a power plant. Like, you can sell that idea, actually. That's a movie, bro. Look at these American heroes. They all voted. You know, you could even bullshit people that way.
Operation Northwoods, they talked about using drone aircrafts.
That's what I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm saying. So it's not out of the realm of possibility that they go, listen, if they get to shoot it down. Because somebody in the back room knows there is no pilot. This whole thing is drone operated. These motherfuckers were not supposed to take over this plane. They didn't take over the other 3. Or the other 2, if there was a third one. Because that's what I'm saying is we don't even know that a plane hit the Pentagon. That's the sketchy part. I don't know, man.
I'm just trying to make the least amount of assumptions, though. Like, I don't know about...
No, I'm not either.
Terror.
I'm just saying that's where my brain goes. Yeah. Like, why would you have to
if you wanted to think
a plane?
Conspiracy-wise, yeah.
Because they didn't just shoot down that plane. They fucking vaporized.
There's a reason why there was 2 crash sites.
Yeah.
Because it was multiple pieces that came out of that sky.
Yeah. And we've all seen enough plane crashes to know. Like, everybody was like, yo, that doesn't look like a plane crash. Like, we know what those look like. We see them all the time.
Yeah, and we also know what.
And not just in movies, like just on the news. Like, we see real plane. Man, that's fucked, dude. Yeah, so with all this fucking Doge, USAID, fucking the Institute for Peace, with all this shit coming out, dude, like, this is why I said, like, pretty much all the conspiracies are true except for Flat Earth and the moon landing. Have you done any research into the 13,000 pages or whatever it is of the JFK files?
No, I've been waiting to. So far,
Me too. I'm going to pump it through AI. I need I can't do 13,000.
There's a couple interesting characters, and I forget what the guy's name is. But
Jolly West?
No, but he's supposedly another guy who committed suicide and stuff, and he was tied to the assassin, Lee Harvey Oswald. There's just it's we know for a fact. I'm sorry that it drives me crazy that people would even sit there and say no, it was just a lone gun, and I just don't understand why that people could even think that one. Literally, they have paper trail on this guy going back months.
Really?
Yeah, they knew where his whereabouts in Mexico City beforehand and all this stuff, and they know. Totally.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take those 13,000 pages. I'm going to upload it into one of the AI programs. I'm going to pay for one of them. I'm going to do like pay for a month or 2 or whatever. And then I'm going to have it break it down for me. And I'm going to do a series of YouTube videos for my Patreon. And I'm going to have it archive it and keep it so I can reference it and re-reference it and go, hey, this doesn't make sense. Deep dive that chunk for me. And you can zoom in. That's the beautiful thing. If you know how to use AI, you can zoom in and out. You can have it re-summarize. You can fucking go far and then go, wait a minute, this doesn't make sense. Go back. You said this thing, and it'll go, yep, I do remember that. Okay, here's what you're...
Right. Well...
13,000 pages. I'm not doing it by myself.
It's been enough time has already went by that you would think that there would be some kind of, smoking gun thing. But there's only been one real compelling addition, and that's a couple names, and I forget what they are off the top of my head. I wasn't thinking to look at it, but there are guys that they were handlers of Lee Harvey Oswald and knew his whereabouts. Going back months, if not years, they knew who the guy was. And you think about how hard it would be to follow people around back then. You know what I mean? It's not like you had endless surveillance systems and cameras at every street corner like you do now. But they knew where this guy was at all times. So,
yeah, I wonder about it because they were talking about those Orwellian things back then about surveillance and radio frequencies and tapping phones and shit.
I think they did it the old-fashioned way where they literally, arranged the meetings he was going to. So that's why they knew where he was at all times.
Could be.
Because, if I go to...
They definitely did that shit with Charlie Manson.
If you go back to... If it's 1962 and you go to a bus station, how does the government know you're at the bus station? There wasn't security cameras. There wasn't a computer there that would send a signal to the government or, some kind of backdoor or digital.
There's definitely less cops. So it's not like they had a cop on every corner.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And maybe they did have a cop on every corner during the day that JFK got assassinated, but that's not what you're talking about. You're talking about weeks leading up to it.
They followed this guy everywhere.
Now, the only rational explanation for that is that he was on their radar for a while.
Yep.
So they could have been following him for a while. They don't have all the digital surveillance shit, right? So this is the beginning of the Cold War.
But that means it's even more personal, though, too, because that means if I'm in charge of following you around and I've written thousands of pages or hundreds of pages or whatever on you, I know you pretty well. Like, I know who your parents are. I know where you're from. I know that you defected over to Russia and blah, 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 right? And I've watched you. I now know that you went to Mexico City beforehand and all this. I know all this. There's all this documentation. It's not like there's 80 people in a room and it's all on a server somewhere. You know what I mean? Like, it's not. It's very personal. You had to type that shit up on a typewriter.
Mm-hmm.
You had to dedicate actual focus to this thing and compile it yourself and file it away yourself. And so there had to be some way more involvement into processing or following this guy. Like, there's just no way around it. It says, like, oh, yeah, I was in charge of following 100 guys. Like, you could do that now in a room full of computers. You probably could have a lead on, you've got a lead on 100 suspects that you're following throughout the country, and it's whatever. You're getting an update. Oh, you used this credit card here. You're getting updates left and right. But back then, it wasn't like that.
Yeah, when you just kind of inspired me to. You know how a lot of shit gets redacted when we read these things, but we're reading things that were typewritten?
Yep.
You couldn't delete, right? So because you're typing stream of consciousness, right? You're trying to like download this shit as fast as possible. If you type a sentence and you're like, oh, I didn't say that the right way, you can't delete that. You have to backspace and then you do the cross key and you put a line through all of that.
Yep.
That would be redacted because it's not an accurate thing to say. So there could be entire paragraphs where you did that in your reports because you're trying to go fast, right? So then you go, oh,
but
wait,
they can see that, though.
But then you can do that plus the redactions because we just see black lines nowadays is my point. So you could have typo errors, you could have redactions in your own version where you're like, oh, fuck, I fucked that up. And then you correct yourself. And then that's also redacted. So there could be incredible reasons why these pages are also redacted, let alone you look back and you go, we can't say this for national security. We can't do that. We can't admit this.
Some of it was Social Security numbers, which don't need to be
identified information.
Some of them were actual technologies used to get, like I'm spying on you, and I use the simple technology at the time that was being used back then, even though now it's like, everybody knows about that.
Yeah,
shit.
some of it at the time we couldn't. We got this because here's the reference to the warrant number. Can't put that in there. That's national security because you're compromising a judge who, you see what I'm saying? Like,
but yeah, you know how much shit's got destroyed, and with government stuff too. There's that level of where not everything is documented too. But
it shouldn't be. Like, there's certain things for national security that shouldn't be put in writing. It shouldn't be put on a hard drive.
I don't know about that.
I do know about that.
Like
That's
what?
what I'm saying. Like,
give me an example.
Pretty much anything.
Assassinations?
Oh, no, I'm not talking about that.
Then what could you not? If you're a government researching something or investigating something and you refuse to put it in any kind of file, seems kind of weird. Like the darkest stuff that would be damning would be the stuff that you'd want to hide and leave out. So what would that be?
Oh, I see what you're saying.
So, like, to me, like, I don't...
Why would you put it in writing and then block it out?
Well, I think that they don't block it out initially until someone comes along and says, we need this information because of this FOIA request or whatever. Because all that stuff is classified at different levels anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have the clearance, you can go look at that shit all day. You're gonna see stuff that's not redacted. If you have the clearance.
Right. So like something, it's written in plain, and then classified. Some things are redacted.
Yep.
Or everything's redacted at classified. Or sorry.
Because
it's public. Everything's redacted. Classified, you see some of that's not redacted. Top secret, none of it's redacted.
Well, and we know this because that multiple freedom of information requests have yielded different results, where whoever was in charge of releasing that file to the public, he blocked off what he thought was supposed to be secret, but somebody else who processed that 4 years later, same like a Freedom of Information Act 4 years later, had one less redaction in it. So then we know by looking at these two files what things were redacted. So they're not usually redacted until the request of information is delivered, because you don't want to store it redacted. There'd be no point in storing a file redacted.
That, you know what's funny is that I don't know why, but that reminds me of like all the people that are saying like Elon Musk is this, that, or the other thing. It's like, y'all realize he works with NASA? He has a literal top secret clearance. He has been vetted by every level of our government.
To do that work.
And he's not only been vetted by every level of our government, he's been vetted by multiple administrations on both sides of the fence. Because I believe Elon Musk started his quest at the very end of the Bush era, through Obama into Trump and into Biden. 'Cause I'm pretty sure it's like 2006. When did he start SpaceX? When did Elon Musk start SpaceX?
Yeah,
I think it was 2006.
If you're in the rocket business, then you will go through. You have to go through the government in order to do anything with rockets.
If you're going to take NASA scientists into outer space, you're clearing aerospace and rocket missile technology levels of 2002. Yeah, so that's in the middle of the Bush era. So 2002, that's in the middle of the Bush era. So he, in every administration, does their own things. So think about this. Elon Musk has been vetted by every level of the CIA and FBI and presidential administration. Bush, Obama, Trump, Biden, and suddenly now you guys want to say this guy is a fucking shill. And he's this or that.
He works for Putin.
It's an insane.
He works for Putin.
It's an insane and irrational argument. He has passed the highest levels, and you don't think our CIA watches him daily?
100%. I was about to say the same thing. 100%. They have access to all his phones at all given times.
No matter what he thinks.
I guarantee you, they watch every single step that guy does.
And this dude bought Twitter.
I bet you they read every single email he's ever typed. I guarantee you they watch him.
Bro bought Twitter, pissed off the FBI and the Biden administration, and still sent NASA astronauts into space. That's what Elon Musk meant when he talked about, Joe Rogan asked him, and he said, why are we not going to rescue those astronauts? And Elon Musk awkwardly said, political red tape. That's what it meant. That's what he meant is, I bought Twitter. I pissed off the FBI. They're trying to take my security clearance, and they can't.
It's not just that.
And they're leaving Americans to die in space over it.
It's not that, because you can't have, if you're expecting to win the next election, you can't give that side any points for doing something cool before the election. So you can't have Elon be the hero and before the election.
Right.
They postponed it until after the election, because that was going to happen no matter what. It was just when. It's the same thing as not releasing hostages until it's politically convenient to release hostages. That's exactly what it was. It was for the election. I don't think that's because they weren't going to have him do it initially. I think they were going to have him do it initially, but they didn't want.
He was the only person in America capable. It was either that or while at war with Russia, you're going to ask Russia to go save our astronauts.
Right. Exactly.
The Biden administration can't do that. But they didn't want to go through Musk. But Musk was, because NASA, just in case anybody doesn't know what we're talking about, NASA is physically incapable right now. NASA does not have the ability to go from Earth to the International Space Station. We were using Russia to get our astronauts to the International Space Station. So we cut that off when the war happened. So our only avenue now was to lean on Elon Musk.
Yep.
And then he bought Twitter and fucked over the FBI because the FBI was using Twitter to spread propaganda, and that pissed off the Biden administration. And that's facts. This is provable. It's all out there. Read the Twitter files. It is what it is. It's not my opinion. Fucking factual statement. The Twitter files proved all of this line for line.
Yep. And it's amazing that people aren't. They're up. The left doesn't care about the Twitter files, only that it ruined the gig that they had, essentially. It's what it seems like. They won't say that, but that's, well, you're only really really censoring Republicans because of their hate speech or blah, 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 blah. That's not what this was all about at all. This was about controlling people during the COVID lockdowns. This was to influence elections. This was, that's election interference if there's ever been one. And for Trump to even, that alone gives Trump some credence to claim that the elections were stolen or whatever, right?
Yep.
Might not have happened exactly the way he thinks it's happened, but definitely when you collude to hide incriminate stories that would damage one party.
Hunter Biden laptops.
Yeah, exactly. When you do all that stuff, that is election interference.
Quite literally. When you get government officials, 51 former intelligence agents, to sign a document to say, this is fake propaganda on behalf of Russia, when you know it's the exact opposite, it's truthful information.
To me, that's
that is the definition.
I think that's a treasonous act, too.
It has to be.
It
fits the legal... Jason... Bring up the definition of treason, because I believe the definition of treason only applies if you hold or held a government position. So you and I can never be held of treason.
I just think that just the fact that you would lie to the American people and you would get these 51 people to me that seemed like a orchestrated thing. It's not like these 51 intelligent people just decided, hey, let's get together and let's do the right thing. I'm sorry, I don't trust if you say 51 intelligence agencies or agents, I know automatically that most of those people are corrupt people.
Okay, will you look up the legal definition? Because I think the legal definition says they have to be a government. I don't think a citizen can become treasonous. I think you have to hold government.
I don't know how espionage works.
So I think you have to be military. I think you have to be military. Yeah, but that's just espionage. Against his enemies, 3. No one can be convicted and treated unless on testimony of 2 witnesses. Blah 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 blah. Keep going, adhering to enemies. Okay, it says nothing about that. I swear there's something. Maybe I made that up.
There might be a certain crime within the scope of treason or something.
I thought that like civilians can't commit treason. They can create espionage, they can become traitors, but like I was under the impression that treason, you had to like be a government, like military or official, elected official or appointed official. You had to be in some sort of, you had to be able to be treasonous to be treasonous. Because otherwise they could just say anybody's a treasoner. I swear.
Maybe remember when they were trying to say Julian Assange should go to jail for treason, and it's like, he's not even an American citizen. How do you think that's going to happen?
Right, that's what I was saying. So I don't think, yeah, that was part of it, yeah. And then they went back and they started referencing all the people that were charged with treason, and they all held government or military positions.
Yeah,
so maybe I'm making this up.
I think we reserved it.
Maybe I'm making this up.
We reserved maybe prosecuting those for those cases
I think we just charged them as traitors
or spies or
or
whatever.
yeah. Dude, I might be making this up, but something's telling me like somewhere along the lines this got defined, and I think it was Scotty actually. Anyone owing allegiance to the nation. So therefore, if you do the Pledge of Allegiance, you could be treasonous, is what that would mean. Levying war against the United States or adhering to their enemies, giving them aid or comfort. This requires the individual to owe a level of allegiance to the United States.
I don't know what that really means.
Well, I can tell you what that means. So we go backwards in this. This requires the individual to owe a level of allegiance to the United States. And I think that's where they started defining that, right? So your citizens, as much as they are citizens, right? If they're not levying war and they don't owe, meaning they didn't like give up their rights, because when you join the military, you do not have 100% constitutional. Like when you're wearing your uniform, you do not have free speech. Like you straight up sign away your constitutional rights when you join the military. Same thing when you become a politician. You do not have the right to a lot of the same things that regular citizens have to. And it's because you escalate in privilege. So I think we're getting a little in the weeds here, but I don't think I made it up. I think I heard somebody's legal argument. So what I'm saying, I wouldn't take as fact.
Right. I think
I think this is lawyer speak, and I was listening to a constitutional argument from somebody who goes, that guy can't be. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like, there could be another lawyer, because again, lawyers aren't the law; they just argue the law, right? So, like, you could have two lawyers,
and bastardized
both
law.
From Harvard, both from the exact same fucking teacher. And you could have one on each side going, he's treasonous, he's not treasonous.
Well, there are people that make careers just by pushing boundaries on laws and stuff like that, too.
Yeah, exactly.
Government likes to hire them, a lot of them lawyers.
That's why a lot of presidents have law backgrounds. Not starting with, but like the biggest one I remember is Abraham Lincoln. Like, that's how Abraham Lincoln got away with a lot of what he did, is he was a lawyer. And he was a constitutional lawyer at that. So he was able to outsmart a lot of people from day one coming up.
Well, think about how many less scholars there were that you have to debate back then.
I know he was a lawyer. Was Abe Lincoln a constitutional lawyer? I know he was a lawyer, but what type of lawyer was he? Because he wasn't family law, is what I'm getting. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? He wasn't arguing about farm jurisdictions. Like, I'm pretty sure he was in constitutional law. I'm 100% certain he was a lawyer. Like, I'm not even curious about that. I just want to know what type of lawyer he was. A general practice lawyer.
Well, debt collection to murder trials. Yeah, well, back then there was a lot of more generalist. I would too.
Yeah, I think you might be right. I don't think they had specialized lawyers back then. I think you're right. I think it was general.
If your town had
lawyer,
400 people in the town, you really probably didn't need.
You had one lawyer.
You didn't need a specialty lawyer for
you had one lawyer and one judge.
You didn't need 25 lawyers to facilitate 400 population.
You had one lawyer who represented both sides somehow. Well, my client says she's a whore. Well, my client says you're a philanderer. No, they probably got like lawyers from other towns in that scenario, right? Like you had to.
Well, and how hard was it to
public defenders?
How hard was it to be a lawyer back then too?
I think about that a lot with doctors.
I don't think it would have been that tough. No, No, I don't.
That's what I think about is like, what were the qualifications to be a doctor in 1856?
Yeah, I
Like,
bet you.
what
I bet you
medical
the
school-
nurses know way more than those doctors did from back then. Like the nurses of today are way more educated.
I
than
would
the
say
stuff
your average asshole of today knows more than your doctor in
that-
1856.
Maybe.
I bet your average doctor in 1856 knows less than you and I right now about the human body and about healing. I mean, and let's ignore like how to set a bone. Right? Let's ignore the surgery aspect things. Just the simple philosophy of like when that bone is set properly. Motherfucker actually pulled up 1856. It meant medical knowledge was less structured, more experimental. So there was no degrees. That's what it's saying. They often held university degrees where hospital-trained surgeons, sometimes also serving as barber surgeons. Apothecaries also learned their roles through apprenticeships.
Yep.
So there was no certifications.
No, that's a relatively new government idea.
That's hilarious. Yeah, because like because what I'm saying is let's ignore how a bone is set. Let's say the bone has been set correctly or incorrectly.
Mm-hmm.
You and I know if you want to walk properly, we have to stress that injury. We have to rebuild muscle. Right? We have to rebuild those tendons. So we're going to slowly add stress. Back then, they said don't put any weight on it, which is literally the worst possible thing you could do to heal an injury.
I think they knew how to set bones back then and stuff like that.
Right,
So,
that's what I'm saying.
So,
So we're not arguing about the surgical how to set the bone.
Mhm.
It was how do you rebuild that person and be able to get them to walk again healthy. We know more than they knew back then. And I'm not talking about the surgery aspect. Like, we know you need to rehab. So, no, you're going to walk on that leg. Actually, we're going to put more weight on that leg slowly over time. We're going to make you carry weights on that side. Like, we got to rebuild not just your leg, but your hip, your fucking that side of your back. Like, you've suffered from atrophy.
Well,
we know much now.
I believe there were some people that knew about that stuff. I think people cared less about it. You know what I mean?
It was not institutionalized.
Yeah, like
regardless.
or just like you're just gonna go back out and be a poor farmer. Anyway, you know what I mean? There's like a lot of the bedside stuff probably wasn't the same way as it is today. Maybe not, I'm just saying from a compassionate standpoint. It was a much harder time back then to.
I will say they did know a lot back then that we've ignored this entire time.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
Like, especially the ancient Chinese medicines, and I'm using that as a cheesy metaphor, but like the Native American supplements, like understanding fucking psilocybin and smoking weed and shit like that, and the power of like the
ether,
the hemp fibers, and the diversity and the resource that was. Like, we almost intentionally became naive to a lot of that stuff that we're just now 150, 200 years rediscovering and proving with modern day science.
That was
so it's kind of the opposite of
medical institutions really kind of took everybody from the homeopathic and old school remedies and shit like that. So that's
so it goes both ways. Like, we knew a lot back then that we ignored and we're just figuring out now, but we also there's a lot of stuff now that we know through common sense. Just through a couple hundred years of good documentation. Fuck actual science. Fuck looking at things in a microscope and just watching human bodies. Like, hey, man, when guys stop moving, they get older. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, the guys who keep working out into their 50s and 60s, the guys who don't stop running, the guys who don't stop stretching, they seem to live longer. Hey, there's a weird irony. The guys who spend too much time in the sun, they seem to get weird and wrinkly. But the guys who don't spend any time in the sun seem to get fucking fat and soft. Like, oh, wait a minute. I think we know what's going on here. Yeah, like, we don't need microscopes and DNA to figure that out. Like, we observed that. That's what I'm getting at. Like, there's certain things that we know now that they didn't know back then, but there's a bunch of shit they knew back then that we're just now, quote unquote, figuring out.
Well, yeah, and then you got to think too that some of the differences between jobs back then weren't as extreme as today either. So they maybe didn't correlate as much in some cases either, because this job you were out in the sun all the time, this job you were in the sun all the time. You know what I mean? Versus being in a cool office building with the,
Right. But roofing is still roofing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like roofing is still roofing.
Yep.
Like,
Exactly.
And I've done roofing, so I know what the fuck I'm talking about, dude. Like roofing is still roofing.
Yep.
And it doesn't matter if you're a Mexican in 2025. They're still wearing light colors and big hats.
Man,
You know what I mean? Like
I see them
it's the
wearing
same
long
thing.
shirts and
That's what I mean.
multiple
Yeah.
layers of clothes. At the
Yep.
end. It's like, holy cow, man, just sweating up the day. But they know what
Well,
they're
they're wearing like that Under Armour shit. So yeah, they're wearing a full layer of clothing, but it's not hot. They're trying to block the
Well,
sun.
Yep, exactly. You
That's
keep,
what they're doing. And
Yeah.
they wear big hats, but they're doing the same thing that we were
And
doing
to keep
100
some
years
moisture
ago in
on
the
the skin is
fields,
good.
dude. They're doing it's the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's exactly the same. But they work their fucking asses off up there, man. Like, I remember doing that job. That shit was brutal, dude.
Yeah, no, you wouldn't get me doing it now.
15 years old, making $8 an hour, tearing shingles off a roof. Being told I wasn't going fast enough. Fuck you, Sean.
That's the thing in that
You come up here and tear these fucking shingles off.
in the trades, you're never fast enough. No matter what you do, you're never fast enough in the trades. So
To be fair, most guys are fucking off a lot, dude. Like,
for sure, that happens. But I'm just saying that in general, it's like everything's. So you need to have this done by Tuesday, and whatever. Every little thing sets you back, and the foreman and everybody wants you to work faster and faster and faster. It doesn't matter.
What are you
Gotta get
doing
done.
now?
I'm not doing anything right now.
Well, aren't you starting a new gig?
Yeah, no, I won't get too much into it because I don't really
just
want to.
what's the industry? What do you do?
So I was gonna do some road repair work. However, I was the only able-bodied person that they hired to do the job. So that meant I did all. That means I did all the able-bodied work, and everybody else got to chill out. So, and it was just too brutal, Then they made a lot of promises, so and couldn't possibly deliver on it.
Well, I'll see you next Monday.
I would be no. I'm not. I can't commit to any kind of. I can't. You're very persistent, but I cannot. I can't.
Come on,
right
dude.
now, I have to strictly worry about making money. That's what I got to do.
Come on, dude. It's one day a week.
No, it's
Monday at 3 p.m.
It's not one day a week though. It's literally. I have I got another band that I have to learn 40 songs for. 40 songs.
You mean
for.
not Benjamin Ray?
Not Benjamin Ray, yeah, that I'm filling in for one gig. But that's 40 songs. For Ben, I have to learn probably another 5. There's always something I got to do, and it's like I can't drive. Everywhere I drive, that's money out of my pocket that I don't have, and I'm literally only making money doing music right now. That's it. If I was getting
Good
paid,
for you, though.
If I was getting paid, then that'd be a different story. I just can't. I can't do that. I can't dedicate myself to.
I mean, I'll
anything else.
pay you.
No, it's not. It's not even that. It's like I have.
I mean,
to,
I pay guys to come to rehearsal.
But see, I have to fundamentally also get a job that I need that will work with what I'm doing.
We'll,
I
we'll,
can't.
we'll talk.
The more I add to my plate, the harder it is for me to find that full-time job too.
Fair enough. But listen, I pay my guys, including for rehearsal. So we'll figure it out, dude.
Yeah, I can't do any more band stuff. Not for a while anyway. I would love to be playing 4 or 5 nights a week, but it's until I can, I don't know.
It's tough, dude. I feel you, dude. I know where you're at.
Yeah, I'm just in a weird.
Jason, what time is it?
It is
9:48.
Oh, dude, we got to wrap this up.
Okay. Let's
So
go.
where are you playing? You're playing with Benjamin Ray, and who are you filling in for?
It's a country tribute band that is female country artists. There's I want to say there's 4 of them, and so they cover all kinds of country music going through the decades. So, and one of them sings in Benjamin Ray from time to time, and they needed somebody to fill in and so forth, and so that's how I agreed to do that.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot of work. And
So what's your next gig coming up? Where can people come see you kick some ass on the bass?
Playing somewhere this weekend. I think Isani even maybe. I'm so bad with.
We should have gotten our cover band up and running, dude.
I want to know.
We kicked a little bit of ass. You know, we only had 1 or 2 rehearsals, but man, we kind of slapped.
I think that things get a little more complicated when you can't find guitar players, and then you're still trying to have rehearsals and all this stuff. And I don't think we were ready for that per se.
Well, I wanted to get everybody in a room to see if this was real. That was my whole motivation behind that. Because, like, everybody talks, and it was like, here's the thing, man. Like, I'm dedicating time. I'll learn these songs. I'll do this thing. But, like, I got to see everybody in the room. I got to look everybody in the eyes. And you did a really great job of, like, finding very competent and capable people. And then dude had a baby coming, you know, and he just kind of fell off the face of the earth.
It was every time we had somebody that said they would play guitar. That's the problem.
Yeah, it wasn't just him. It's all guitar players.
Yeah, guitar players that just don't want to. They want, you know, the thing is these guys want to play and they want to play right now. They don't want to build anything, and I totally understand. It's like I got to be able to justify my time away from home. Like I have to be making money. So I get that. But at the same time, it's like you know that we could have been making some serious bucks though, because there was a lot of talent, and some good songs.
I knew the right guitar player, but yeah, you know who I'm talking about. It is what it is. But so, did you plug your show? When are you playing?
Oh, I don't know. I looked it up. I'm not looking it up again. Fuck y'all.
Oh my God. Okay, well, I love you guys. If you guys want to help us get to 500 subscribers, guys. We're like right around the fucking corner. I think we have 593 or 594 or 595, something like that. And as soon as we get to 500, we can apply for partial monetization through YouTube. Oh my God, we get to kind of make money.
Then you got to really worry about strikes or what?
No, but we can start accepting like super chat and shit, and that's how we're going to help the producers get paid. So make sure you guys hit like, subscribe, share, do that thing, help us grow the channel. I don't have any shows to promote because I have something else I have to announce next week, but we'll get there when we cross that bridge. I love you guys. We're going to get the fuck out of here. Yeah. Jared Singer Live.
Yeah.